management and marketing at St. John's University in New York. And I credit that part of my education a lot for what I think has helped me become really, really successful in my practice. And it gave me the understanding of what I would need to be successful and to transition from what I know is allopathic medicine into the world of lifestyle medicine. Now, by a show of hands, virtual hands that is, how many of us here have training in allopathic medicine, have gone to a clinical program where we've maybe studied social work, physician's assistant, registered dietitian, nurse practitioner, nurse? By a show of virtual hands, I would venture to say that's probably everyone on this training today, or just about everyone. And if you know from your if you think back to your clinical education, how many of us received any training in marketing or how to run a business? I would say that's very few of us, practically none. And I'll be the first to say that I certainly didn't. That's because in allopathic medicine, we make the assumption that our degree and our training is enough. We often walk across the stage with 500 other people. We get our degree, we get our licenses, and we're sent out into the world to do our work, right? And we just wait for people to show up. And they often do. People come in, they're sick, they want to be seen, and we bill for our services, and in a couple of weeks we get our paycheck, and we keep doing that same thing over and over. If we work in private practice in the allopathic world, it's pretty much the same thing that holds true. People are sick, they call our office, we check to see that they're on our insurance panel, or they check to see if we're on their insurance panel, we're in their network, they check our credentials, they schedule an appointment. It's really pretty simple. But in the environment we find ourselves in now, where people are seeking out wellness and they're seeking out lifestyle medicine and they're seeking out advice for what Dr. D mentioned this morning, for how to live better lives, how to age well, how to feel healthy, how to get past some of these things that she talked about, which is losing weight or reversing a chronic health condition. People are looking for something different. They're not going to just simply look for who's in network, but they're going to look for people who have specific skills, specific trainings. They're looking for what we know is something that tunes into what we all tune into, is the brand. So what I'm going to be talking to you about this morning is Wellness Branding 101. One of the things I have read over the past couple of years, over and over and over, that I highly encourage you to tune into today, if you are a provider who's not yet in lifestyle medicine but looking to make this transition, is a book that I think is exceptional at explaining to us something that very few of us learned in our clinical program, which is that you are a brand, and that is the name of this book. Wonderful, wonderful book, because it explains that whether we like it or not, each one of us is a living, breathing brand. And as professionals, we don't like to think about that. We like to think that we have our degrees, we have our credentials, and that should be enough. But by definition, a brand is a type of product or service manufactured by a particular company under a particular name. And that's certainly what we are. We are health professionals. We're certainly offering a service, and we're certainly representing a company. Whether you work for yourself or someone else, you're representing something. You're representing ideas. You're representing images. You're representing beliefs, thoughts, and values. And that's what gets transpired. That's your message that comes across. So everywhere that you exist, everywhere that you travel, whether it be on Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn, social media, when you go to a conference, you are known by your ideas, your images, your beliefs, your thoughts, your values. that becomes your message. And so all of those things come together. And what I want to share with you today are the 4 essential wellness branding tips that I follow and that I've learned over the years that have helped improve engagement, improve reach, and specifically in the fields of lifestyle medicine, functional medicine, and integrative health. I call them the 4 R's. So let's jump into that. The first thing is you want to create relationship. As Dr. D said, it's all about relationship. And we're finding that even more so now that we're all sort of, hunkered down. We're experiencing a reduction in our ability to be physically together. So now our ability to be together and relate to each other is becoming increasingly important. How do you create a relationship? Well, you've got to be relatable. So, in the first R, I want to encourage you to identify your ideal client. Start from the very beginning to think about and focus on the unexpected, the emotional, and the simple. When you create relationships with people, how does that happen? It happens because there's something new. There's something unusual, something relevant or surprising. There's some did you know element. That's YK is. Did you know? Did you know that I'm also from Long Island? Did you know that I'm also from Italy? Did you know that I'm also from Texas? The emotional, you want to convey how and why you care and understand about the concern of your ideal client. And you want to create a simple, unifying message for how you can relate to this person and why. It isn't enough to say, oh, sure, I'm from New York. Well, big deal. There are 7 million other people who are from New York. Why does that matter? Well, it matters because I can relate to what it feels like to live in a city where there are 7 or 10 million other people hunkered down in the middle of a pandemic, trying to figure out, how do I still exercise? How do I still get out and walk? How do I still get out to get my nutritious foods and what have you when all of these things are closed down? So you want to start from the very beginning in your practice to start thinking about who is your ideal client. There are 7-8 billion people on the planet. Is every single person going to be your ideal patient or your ideal client? Absolutely not. There are some people who absolutely do not care about lifestyle medicine or don't want to do those 60 and 20 or those 20%, 60% things that Dr. D talked about, those interventions. There are people who are not necessarily your ideal client, though they can benefit, and they may simply not be ready for what it is that you have to offer. But there's a huge population of people who are your ideal client, and you want to be able to relate to them from the very beginning. You want to create that emotional connection, and you want that connection to be simple, not complicated, especially when this is someone brand new that you've never encountered before. You want to share your unique story. And how do you tell your story to the rest of the world? I personally think that your passion is connected to your story, and your story is what connects you to your ideal client or current patient. Wellness, and why is it important to you? Everywhere we go today, we're hearing people talk about wellness, 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 wellness. But what does wellness really mean to you? Dr. D spoke about how I came to starting my practice, Siva Health. And Siva is a Sanskrit term for the word serve. It means to serve without expectation of reward. To me, the biggest gift we can ever give to someone else is service, is tuning into what people need and being there to offer our talents, our skills, our education to help someone feel better. The foundation of my practice is rooted in service. And so when I talk about wellness, I go into my own experiences growing up. And I talk about my family, my grandparents who on their 5-acre farm, we tended to the vegetables and things that they were growing. We tended to the animals on their farm. I talk about how special that was a time in my life and how that set the stage for everything I believe about mental, psychological, and physical well-being. And you know what? There are so many people in my circle of influence who can relate to that. They too have grandparents who they spent summers with. They too have uncles and aunts who had some farmland or who grew their own vegetables. They too can relate to the joy of tasting, a tasty tomato that's been grown on a farm. So immediately I'm able to make that connection with people because that is my unique story. And guess what? I also have a garden out back that I tend to. I know what that feels like to pick off the first tomato in spring and in summer. So your passion is going to be connected to your story, and your story is what's going to connect to your ideal client or your current patient population. And your story is what's going to be that definition of wellness that's going to connect to what someone else views as wellness as well. Just one. You don't have to tell a million different stories. You don't have to tell everything that happened in your life, but you can tell the one thing that's unique, the one thing that's special about your career, about your service, about your brand. There's an interesting quote that I absolutely love, and it comes from Marva Collins, and it's trust yourself, think for yourself, act for yourself, speak for yourself, be yourself. Imitation is suicide. And I absolutely believe that. When you're pretending to be something that you're not, or when you're trying to latch on to someone else's brand or something else that someone created, it comes across inauthentic. It comes across as something that's just sheer marketing. There's a lot out there today. There are a lot of shiny things on Instagram that look fantastic. And it's like, oh, I should be doing that, or I should be saying that, or I should be printing that. Absolutely not. What you should be doing is something Dr. D mentioned, is being your authentic self. So if you remember nothing else today, just remember that if something sounds like common sense or is too generic, people are going to ignore that. Even if you are a clinician, even if you are a provider, you want to highlight what's unique about your career, your service, your brand, and what you have to offer in your community. The second R is be reliable. Wellness consumers, they're seeking out specific knowledge and skills to help them solve specific problems. In the beginning, I spoke about in our allopathic training, people just in allopathic medicine, they're sick, they're coming to you, they need help, they want you to diagnose their condition, and they're back out the door with whatever prescription it is that you're giving. There are also lots of wellness consumers who don't have any specific, need, but they just want to stay well. But I would venture to say, for anyone who's in lifestyle medicine, and especially in functional medicine, people are coming to you because they're at the end of their rope. They've done the allopathic thing. They've received the prescription. They've received, they've got tons of prescriptions that they're trying to get off of and change their lives. So they're specifically looking for someone with knowledge and skills to help them solve specific problems. So you want to be reliable. You want to convey what your background is, your education, your qualifications, and you want to talk yourself up. If you took a 30-day certificate, if you took a year-long training program, if you've got your doctorate in practice, whatever it is, whatever your background is, whatever your skills are, even if it's a community gardening certification that you have, that speaks to who you are, what your skill sets are, what your knowledge base is. What is the specific problem your ideal client needs to solve? Is it weight loss, mental health, menopause, fertility? I go by the principle of inch wide, mile deep, and that basically means you want to go an inch wide, You want to be specific, but you want to go really deep in what you're being specific about. So if it's weight loss, then gosh darn it, you want to stick with weight loss and you want to know every single thing that the ideal client who's looking for weight loss solutions is going to need. And that's what makes nutraMetrix so special and TLS, because we've got every single thing a person would need to be successful at losing weight. Mental health, we've got it. We've got tools, we've got strategies, we've got products that can help people get a better night's rest. We have products that help people tune up their B6, B12, that helps improve cognition. Menopause, we certainly do. We've got something for that. That's what makes nutraMetrix so special. And this is where we can jump in and be really specific. We can do that inch wide, mile deep for ideal clients. And you want to explain how you can specifically help them solve their specific problem. How will they benefit from your solution and your skills? So being reliable is that second R. As I said, nutraMetrix offers customizable solutions for getting nutrients you need that may help you lose weight and gain energy. When you're talking to ideal clients or to current patients, you don't want to wait before you get to the bottom line. You don't want to have a mile-long conversation before you jump in and say, hey, I've got something that I really think will help. Again, the tools and the tips and the strategies that we're talking about today, but the solutions that we have in the nutraMetrix and in the TLS trainings make it painfully simple to jump to the bottom line, to reveal our solutions up front. So let's just say we have Marcos, a father, husband, business owner. And this is just someone that we encounter. This is maybe our ideal client who we think, this might be someone we can help. We can begin by telling the ideal client or patient about their problem through a story. We can go right in to a story that we know that of a pre-existing patient or client, maybe even our own personal story. And we can say, hey, I know exactly what it feels like. I know what it feels like to be running your own business and, not having time to exercise, not having time to, get in bed at a decent hour, because running a business means that you're up late and you're looking at your financials. I know exactly what you're talking about. I had a client who had this same problem, or I had the same problem. I remember when I started my business, and you can jump right in. So you want to make sure that your ideal client knows that you understand what their problem is, and you've got a story that you can share about their particular problem. That's how you create relationship. So in this example, and this is very close to something that I experienced in my own practice, 1 year after weight loss surgery, Marcos had begun to gain weight again. He was feeling overwhelmed and depressed. Okay, here we are. We're connecting and tapping into emotions, and we're getting specific about the problem and the potential solution. The problem is, here he is, he's gaining weight again. He's feeling overwhelmed and he's feeling depressed. Who do you know who has not felt at some point in their life overwhelmed and or depressed? Who do you know who hasn't at some point in their life gained weight and felt overwhelmed and depressed? Many of us can relate to this, right? So we want to jump right into the potential solution. As I just mentioned, we can say that, what's making you feel overwhelmed and depressed? Well, I've got to take all of these supplements. I had bariatric surgery, and that means I have 15 supplements lined up. I've got B12, I've got to take vitamin D, I've got to take vitamin C, I've got to take extra this, extra that. For a particular client in my practice, this whole thing felt extremely overwhelming. And you know what happened? The person took absolutely none of the things that they were supposed to be taking after their bariatric surgery. So what was the solution? The problem was I can't keep it all together. And because I can't keep it all together, I'm now back to where I started. I'm now gaining weight all over again. So what's the solution? Hey, what if I were able to put all of those supplements together for you in one cocktail? What do you think? Do you think you'd be it'd be easier for you to remember to take all of those supplements? Wow, yeah, it probably would be. And do you think if I, introduced you to a program that made it simpler for you to do meal planning, to exercise, to, reach out with others who are experiencing this same challenge that you're experiencing, would that help you? Oh yeah, that would really be helpful. So what did we do? In this particular example, for what I'm sharing in my practice, the solution was to put together a custom cocktail for this particular person. And that made all the difference, because what happened next? Marcos started taking his meds and supplements on time. Hey, I don't have 15 different supplements I have to take anymore. All I have to do is reach right into my cocktail and I've got everything in one place. In clinical practice, we always say the best medicine and the best supplement is the one that people will take, right? And take consistently. So guess what? That's what that cocktail offers us the opportunity to do. Who in the world do you know that doesn't want something to be simpler? Every single person on the planet wants a simpler life. Show me one person who wants a complicated regimen. nutraMetrix offers us the opportunity to make regimens simpler for people. What happened then? Now that we're on TLS, here's Marcos using every Sunday to do his meal prep, because now TLS gives us meal plans and gives us tools to understand why meal prepping is important and why and how to do it. Here's Marcos now participating in a Facebook group and coming into some online Zoom groups visits to get support. So now we've created relationship and we've created reliability and we've introduced our solution early on in the conversation. You want to highlight your solutions. You want to be able to say to other potential clients and patients, hey, this is what we did with someone else I knew. We did a NutraPhysical. We showed this person who I've worked with before. I showed them this NutraPhysical, a simple way to figure out where their nutrient deficiencies may be. We put together a customized cocktail. We did a program called TLS. We did meal planning and group support. You want to be able to highlight your solutions from the very beginning. You don't want to wait too long to, again, have that conversation. And you want to highlight success stories from weight gain to weight loss. Stories become more credible when you use concrete details and you give specific actions that other people did specifically to achieve their goals. People worry a lot about HIPAA and patient confidentiality. Well, you know what? You don't have to name names. You don't have to name genders. You can simply tell the story. I had a client who did such and such. And let me tell you, in 6 months or in 3 months, this person was able to do XYZ. We are all moved by stories. Relationships are rooted in stories, and stories are rooted in meaning. So when you listen to you think back to some of the greatest stories you've ever read as a kid. Some of the greatest novels you've read, some of the greatest movies. Why were they so great? Because they told a compelling story, and that story resonates. So you want to get, as clinicians, you want to get around to being a good storyteller, and you've got plenty of stories to tell. If you see patients every single day, if you see patients 5 days a week, 2 days a week, couple of days a month, you've got stories that you could share. And those stories are the way that you create conversations with your clientele and with your patient population. The next R is relevant. You want to be relevant. People need to understand how rare, frequent, important, and significant your experiences are as a healthcare provider. One of the things that we do as clinicians is we just go about our day. We just do our work every single day. We finish off our notes, we send off our prescriptions, things like this. We finish up, and we just think that the world that we live in is the world that everyone else lives in. But that's not necessarily so, because I always say there are parallel realities. There's the world reality, and then there's our reality in our own community. So you want to pick one or two statistics, or one or two stories, or one or two examples, and tie them to current events to create relevancy. Are you talking about something that people are actually concerned about? Let's think about the world we're in right now with COVID. There are lots of things that you can talk about to be relevant. People have been on quarantine, they're gaining weight. People are working at home, which means what happens? The boundary between work life and home life gets thinner and thinner. So what does that mean? People are staying up late. They're doing work all times of the day. They're working in the evening. Some people are working on weekends. They're tired. Okay, so you can connect to that audience of people and potential clients, and you want to be relevant to today's concern of how do I continue to lose weight? How do I stay on the bandwagon with my health now that I've got children that I'm homeschooling? I'm working at home. I'm living at home. I'm home all the time. I'm snacking all the time. You can get out that messaging in your patient population that, hey, if you're struggling with this, as so many other people are, I might have a solution for that. As a provider and in lifestyle medicine, you always want to make sure that you are relating to the context of current needs. You want to make any data or any recommendations or any studies that you're showing to your patient population or ideal clients, you want to make that data digestible by putting them in the context of something familiar. So again, if you're talking about weight loss, no one's interested in a clinical study that's 15 pages long. No one's interested in, studies that have, randomized clinical trials and all that kind of thing. You want to make it digestible. You want to put it in plain language and make it relevant to the person who's in front of you. And you want to tie what you're presenting to something current, because the immediate needs are what people most often concern themselves with. They don't think about, 6 months from now, 9 months from now. They're really just trying to figure how to get through today. How do I start losing weight again? How do I get a good night's sleep? How do I do that right now in the here and now? So you want to be relevant. You want to be resourceful. This is the fourth R. Wellness consumers seek out, as I said earlier, specific knowledge to solve specific problems. You want to choose quality sources that are as concrete to the problems you solve as possible. Again, that's what makes nutraMetrix and TLS so wonderful as a solution in lifestyle and functional medicine, because our sources are as top quality as they possibly can be. As a clinician, when I'm sending a potential client, when I'm talking to a potential client and I'm sending them information about natural allergy support, or I'm sending them information about how to get a good night's rest, and I'm recommending magnesium, I always highlight the fact that at the bottom of that product, they can pull up probably a good 50 clinical studies that will support the use of magnesium, that will support the use of, green tea extract, if they're the type of client that wants to read that. If they don't, that's fine. But the fact that it's there, it shows your ideal client how the source matches their specific problem and their need. And it brings them back to the context of your brand and the client's need. Again, you're tying your skill sets in, your values, your message in with products and services that meet specific needs at a specific time. You want to be consistent. Build confidence around your product and services by being consistent. People are coming to you, as I said in the beginning, because of your specific knowledge, your background, your skills. And today's wellness consumer, I hate to say it, doesn't really care a whole lot about the degree that you may have gotten 20 years ago. They don't really care a lot that you went to such and such Ivy University 15 years ago. What they want to know is, what are you learning as a clinician? How are you growing? Do you have testimonials? Who has benefited from your services and products, and how? They want to know something about you. And that's, again, another thing that makes nutraMetrix and TLS so special, because we have the opportunity always be learning and growing as clinicians. We have the opportunity to share consistent messaging about our patient populations, our clients, and how they've grown. We have the opportunity to grow and share our knowledge and make that widely available to anyone to fact check, even, so that when you build their confidence, you're also building your own confidence, and you do that through consistent messaging. Stick to your story, stick to your brand. One of the most painful things to see out in social media land is people who follow the shiny syndrome way of doing things. Every time you turn around, they're doing something different. So one day they're a weight loss coach, and the next day they're doing something that's totally, unrelated. People see that. Wellness consumers see that. And if they think that you're that inconsistent in your messaging, how consistent are you going to be as a provider? So you want to make sure that you choose your brand from the very beginning, and your story and your inch wide, mile deep proposition, and you stick with that, and you be consistent with that, so that you can build your own confidence and confidence in your ideal client or customer or patient. You want to share what people are saying. I'm finally getting a good night's rest. I feel like the brain fog is lifted and I'm more focused. Mrs. Shannon Sheepman, she helped me to take control of my health. Share your success stories. You've got thousands upon thousands of them. I learned something recently about the power of the website. Many of us have them these days. And what did websites do? Years ago, the website was all about replacing your brochure. It was your brochure. So, go to my website. No more. Your website should be a marketing machine. Someone in Singapore should be able to pull up your website if you are US based, and they should be able to access your services through one simple click. They should be able to engage with you through one simple click. There need to be things in place in your website that are doing work for you, and doing the work for you that you can't do yourself, or that you don't have time to do. Testimonials do a whole lot of heavy lifting for you, because nothing speaks to you and your brand like other people speak to you and your brand. And make them real by all means necessary. Make them real testimonials. Takes absolutely nothing to ask your current patients or customers or clients, hey, how did that magnesium work out for you? How did that B12 work out for you? Or in the case of Carlos, how do you feel now having a one-stop shop solution to, getting all of your supplements in one cocktail? Hey, I feel great. Take that and say, hey, would you mind shooting me over an email? And be authentic. Say, you know what? I'd love for other people to benefit from your story. I'd like to share that on my website. Would you mind just giving me a 2-line or 3-line testimonial that I can put on our website to share your success? People talk. They love talking, and they love talking about their success stories. Get on Instagram any day of the week, and what will you see? People who are talking about all the good stuff in their life. There are very few people who want to talk about what's bad that's going on in their life. But there are a whole lot of people who want to share what's good. I lost 50 pounds. I lost 10 pounds. I'm sleeping better. I've got better brain fog. My menopause is gone now. And now I'm feeling, like a new person. So take advantage of the stories, your story, but take advantage of the stories that other people want to share as well. That should be on your website. If you don't have a dedicated page specifically for testimonials, please do make that a top priority, to do the heavy lifting for you, to have people who can speak to your services when you're not able to speak to what your services are for yourself. Social media, choose wisely. There are tons of different ways to engage. There's Facebook, there's LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram. But don't forget, every single one of those things operates differently, functions differently, and wherever you are, you've got to be consistent there. So if you love Facebook or LinkedIn, which are excellent tools for connecting with your audience, by all means, go for it. They're wonderful platforms. Be consistent. Use them. They're robust. Use them to their fullest capacity. And please, Sarah did a wonderful live presentation a couple of weeks ago, I believe, on LinkedIn. Believe me, folks, LinkedIn is not just your resume. It's a whole new world on LinkedIn. Tons of opportunities, not only to network, but to also collaborate, to find your ideal client. There are a whole lot of people in the business world right now who aren't sleeping, who aren't exercising. They're worried to death about how they're going to get people back to work, whether they're going to get, a full, robust, 100%, workforce back in place, or if they're going to have to do modified workplace. They can use some wellness solutions right now. They've got to figure out how they're going to keep their employee base healthy and productive and focused in the midst of the pandemic and so many other things going on in the world. Please do not overlook LinkedIn. Facebook, we already know. YouTube, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram. But don't forget about the good old-fashioned newsletter. Your ideal clients want to hear from you. Here's an opportunity for you to zoom in really quickly and just say, here's what's going on in our practice. Here's what we've got to offer. If you've never heard of it before, MailChimp makes it painfully simple to do a newsletter because, again, it's about consistency and engagement and storytelling. I'll just say in my newsletter, I get really up close and personal. I share pictures of what's going on in my garden. I share pictures of, what's going on in my clinical practice. I make it short, sweet, easily accessible. And guess what I also do? I automate it. That's the beauty of MailChimp. It's automatable, so I don't have to do a whole lot. There are lots of different tools out there that you can, tune into to get, some training on MailChimp. I'd highly recommend you use it because, again, that's where you can put in some sales, some marketing, some coupons, some holiday awarenesses, some holiday promotions, and awareness. Did you know that June is Brain Health Awareness Month? Don't know if anyone knew that, but if you didn't know that, guess what brain health means? It means sleeping. It means focus. It means, cognitive health. So that's my geriatric population. So there's tons of opportunities out here to, from the social media perspective, to get engaged with your ideal client, with your current patient population. More than anything, as Dr. D said, you want to build a community. You want to collaborate. You want to inspire your audience to share with others. What would this all be about if we didn't share, if we didn't build a community, if we weren't collaborating as we are today, inspiring your audience and your patient population to act on the info that you share? Here's why that's important in marketing, because again, your best marketing tool is the person that you've helped. People love to share, and people believe in the stories that others share. So this, when you're collaborating or when you're sharing information, you want to make it easily accessible for sharing. So this can be anything from a downloadable freebie to info on a class that you're creating. You want to be really, really creative. You want to encourage on your platforms, whether it be LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitter or wherever you are. You want to bring that call to action and say to people, hey, let's build a community. Let's share with others. Please share this post with someone you think, people love to share. So tell your audience to do that. Tell your patients to do that. Hey, if you love this product, please share it with your family. Here, let me give you a couple of things that you can give to family members, and please ask them to call me if they've got any questions. What you want more than anything is to build a community, and you want to be collaborative with other people in the community who are doing the same thing or something similar to you. Work with other clinicians in your area and others who are practicing lifestyle and functional medicine. Put together Zoom calls, live Facebook events. There are tons of different ways to do what I call cross-pollination. So I hope these tips, tools, and strategies help you create a memorable brand of yourself, your services, and your nutraMetrix product line. I love sharing. I absolutely love, cross-pollination and working with others who are trying to integrate wellness into their practice. And I love talking about personal branding tips because, as I said, whether you like it or not, as a clinician, you are a brand. So after today's conference, think about getting some of those books that I talked about earlier, getting some of those tips and tools in our robust back office at nutraMetrix and TLS that help you identify a memorable brand of yourself, your services, and your nutraMetrix product line. Thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you to my colleagues for allowing me to present this information to our nutraMetrix family.
Angel, incredible. I can hear the rounds of applause from all of our attendees, and we're getting messages everywhere. Thank you so much for that information here today. I think, Angel, if you stop sharing, I think that will change the
all set
here. We're going to let you go because I'm sure you need a sip of water, and there was something going off in your background, so I hope your house isn't burning down.
Oh, no. I'm sorry. Thank you so
We're all human. How fun is this that we get to see inside of people's offices, homes, lives on a Sunday morning? That is what makes this whole thing so real and raw and fun. So
thank you so
much, Angel. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
So I am really just excited that you are here. There are lots of applauses. And Angel brought up some great points that I want to recap right here. And one of them is, being relatable and telling stories. And I do hope you go back to Angel's interview that Brandy Murphy did with her a few weeks ago to hear a little bit more of her expanded story. I had the opportunity to get on with Angel just yesterday to do a little tech check here. And it was so interesting because I went to elementary school, the same place where her kids went to elementary school. So when she says in 2 minutes she can make it so have some sort of relation together, we did that. When my dad was a resident, he did his residency in Baltimore, Maryland, and we lived in Pikesville, which is right near where Angel is, where I know is also just right in the same backyard as our next speaker too. So stories definitely tell and share and sell a whole new world for people. And when they can feel that, we're the same. We have the same background. We went to school from the same place. I know exactly what you're talking about. I mean, we were talking about crab cakes and putting Old Bay on crabs, and it brought me right back. It was like, I've known you forever in the first 30 seconds. And that's what we do. And that's why we really try to also warm you up to a lot of conversations with many of our providers. I am loving everything in the chat. I hope people continue to put some of their favorite marketing points here and also in the Facebook group. I heard Stephen earlier, he says, that nutraMetrix and web centers, websites, and our division, our sister division, web centers go together really well. And I just wanted to say to Stephen and to all of you that I hope you stay on till the end, because we do have a special announcement, a special surprise. It relates very much to what Angel just presented on. So let me just give you that little teaser right there. So now you can see her face, Sherry Black. Sherry, thank you for joining us, as our next segment is talking about the balance that we have here with our team. No, wait, I just gotta. Joan's also from Pikesville. Sherry, how far do you live from Pikesville, Maryland?
No, 20 minutes.
This is hysterical. Like, what is this? Is such a small world. I remember growing up, there were a lot of bakeries that had those black and white cookies, and so I have such a love for black and white cookies.
Burger cookies?
Burger cookies, that's what you call them? Okay, because up here in the bakeries, they call them black and whites, but they're burgers down there?
Yeah. With chocolate icing. Pretty amazing.
I always ate the vanilla side first because I like the chocolate side better, so I couldn't do that. It's kind of like that Oreo conversation. Not a good topic for a wellness summit. So let's move on here. We have a lot of people here today. We have practitioners coming both from a more traditional Western background. We have practitioners coming from more of a Eastern, philosophy, allopathic. We have physician extenders. We have consumers. We have lovers of just health and nutrition. We have consultants, people who specialize in branding and marketing. We have people who maybe are considering specializing in branding and marketing. There's so much here. And Sherry, I'm not going to tell people what your background is, because I want you to tell people what your background is. You just go ahead. Yeah, without letting the cat out of the bag, tell them where you were and then what you do here today.
So I started my career out of high school by going to nursing school. And I worked as a nurse for about 7 years while I got my undergraduate degree. And then I went to law school, and I became a labor lawyer for 25 years. And in the last few years of working as an attorney, I started receiving acupuncture as a patient. And I realized how transformative it could be. And at some point, I just said, I'm going to go to acupuncture school. So then I spent the next 3 years getting my master's in acupuncture, and I've been practicing since 2005.
I just love that. And I love that for so many reasons. And when it comes to branding as well, when you brand yourself, so this is just a tip for providers, for the consultants that are on, for just people that are interested in this conversation we're having, when you do brand yourself and you love it, you have no idea who you're talking to. And, I bet you sat there in every acupuncture appointment, just soaking it all in and picking the brain of your acupuncturist in so many different ways. And then you've even gone ahead and you've niched down in your acupuncture practice. Can you talk a little bit about what makes you different?
So I attended a year-long certification for holistic women's health. And from there, I started doing a lot of fertility work. As an individual, I had a baby when I was in my 40s, and I thought that was a normal thing. And then I took this class, and I was like, oh my God, today they think women who are 37 are geriatric. And it can be very discouraging for people to be told, well, there are a lot of risks, and I don't know if you're going to get pregnant. And I don't believe that's true. And what Dee was talking about earlier, the foundational work that goes into any person having good health, goes into becoming a mother. And if you take those steps early enough in life, and I guess I was fortunate enough to have done that pregnancy, at 37 is not such a, extraordinary thing.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. I mean, that's such a great thing. So talk a little bit though about then how did nutraMetrix come into your life and fit into the picture?
Well, Dr. Nancy Miller really tracked me down. She likes to say she stalked me. But she came into our office and at the time just said, you know, what about these supplements? They're really very good, and you will have knowledge about the product if you use them with your patients. And initially, I didn't know much about the products, and I hadn't been using supplementation in my practice. But there's been so much training since then, and the evolution of nutraMetrix to really permit people, even people who don't have a great deal of knowledge, to learn about the products and learn how to use them and be very successful having an auxiliary income to their practice. So I think my emphasis has really shifted from one of just helping patient to patient to realize that I can't provide services to 100 people a week, not in my practice, but that I can reach my knowledge and capability to many other people through nutraMetrix by virtue of the fact that I can bring people on as business partners.
So true. And at this point, I mean, and we're still learning so much about branding. I mean, I took pages of notes during.
Me too.
And I really hope that I can integrate some of this over the next few days. And I mean, Angel's right. We have a lot more presentations we can review that we've brought in, so a lot of from myself, from Brandy, from others about marketing and branding. Sherry, do your patients see it as a differentiator that you carry nutraMetrix? Do referral sources see it as a differentiator? How are you known in the community, and the fact that you do carry a supplement line?
I think that they do see it as a difference. I think that many times people who start taking the products as a result of recommendations I've made go on to refer them to other people and refer people to me for practice, even though much of my focus has been in fertility. I work with other populations as well. And acupuncture has that unique capacity to give you a diversity of clients. But I love the fact that I can represent myself as having a background that other people don't necessarily have.
Yeah.
And an offering they don't have.
Right. It's so huge because there's a lot of providers. I mean, as much as the story goes where healthcare is changing and that a lot of people are closing their doors, there's also so many new people popping up and a lot of competition because of things like social media, review sites. Word of mouth spreads so much faster than it ever has. I was just in a conversation this morning in a local women's group all about the best kind of collagen. And I watched in an hour, there must have been 90 opinions of all different things of people. And I thought it was just so interesting to say, well, what really defines best? That was my question. What is best? What are you looking for? And I think I talked to you about this because I think that, the worst kind of supplement is the one that sits on the shelf that you never use. That's the most expensive. That's the worst. And so it really comes down to, are you going to take it? Angel talked about this as well, where she said with her patient when she was able to custom cocktail some of the nutrients she was recommending, it made it so it was a part now of her patient's just lifestyle, about a part of his daily habits. And have you seen the same thing? I mean, I think especially, in pregnancy, I have 3 kids. My youngest is 6 months. So I know, you're trying to tell me at the beginning of pregnancy to do anything every day and you feel nauseous anyways, just your hormones are all over the place. And so why has nutraMetrix stood out in your fertility practice in that way?
Well, most women, if they want to get pregnant, they start taking a fertility vitamin, but they don't always make the best choices in what they're taking, and some of them don't like the regurgitation or that vitamin taste. So they got it like a kid's chewable or something, and we all know what those products many times have in them, or they just don't take the vitamin at all. And so I find that the prenatal multivitamin, first of all, it has activated B in it, which is so important. And secondly, they take them on a daily basis, 2 ounces, 4 ounces, and it's done for the day. And I find that generally with my clients that they're much more compliant with the nutraMetrix because it comes in that isotonic form. So it's easy enough to just take it down in the morning and be done. And I have to say that even the nutraMetrix products that are pills and capsules, I put them in my pocket. I'm going to take them at the office, and then I take my clothes off at the end of the day, and they're falling on the floor, and I'm like, this is not good. So I do think that having that delivery system beyond its bioavailability makes a huge difference.
I just told my girlfriend the other day, I put my pills and capsules by my toothbrush, and I take them at the ends of the night because I always bring a glass of water upstairs with me. So it's something that I know I'm going to do. I don't go to bed without brushing my teeth. It's really helpful to me. Many people know my dad also works with women and babies as an obstetrician gynecologist. And, we talk a lot about with nutraMetrix as a provider being a product of the product, and you can speak to those products. And my dad, he also loves isotonic prenatal. He loves some of the women's support blends. He loves women's health. My dad doesn't take any of those because my dad is not a woman. And so I say this to you too, because, at this stage, and if you're not trying to get pregnant, or you're not going through, what you're recommending to your patients. And that sometimes is where people will say, well, I'll go into a practice and I'm talking to a bariatric surgeon, and we're trying to come up with a protocol, and the bariatric surgeon doesn't need the protocol he's coming up with. And this is the same thing. But why is it so important to be a product of the nutraMetrix product when you're speaking to your patients? And did you go with the product first yourself?
I did. I started taking them immediately, and my husband always laughed. I don't know what you're giving me, but I take it. But I definitely found that there was an improvement in my skin health and in my energy level. I didn't need a nap in the afternoon, whereas before I kind of, crash come 2:00. And definitely with TLS, it changed my whole approach to eating. And, I don't know, how old will I be? 74 this year. And I just feel, it's kept me youthful.
Wait, 74, whatever you're taking, could just message me on the side, whatever that regimen is. Wait. Anyone else, shocker, had no idea. I'm I don't know, she must have a 5-year-old. I'm trying to do that. I know I've known you for a while, Sherry, but trying to figure it all out here. Wowzers. Okay, if that's not testament, product of the product, I'm in. But Sherry, you're busy. You have a practice. Yes. You're, a busy woman, and you have a family, and you have a life, and you're entrenched in your community. And so can you just speak to a little bit about how the team has helped you with your nutraMetrix, in your practice, growing a business outside of it, and how has that support been for you?
Well, there is so much support with our team. We do a lot of trainings online. We did them online even before COVID. I think it helps you create that line between work and home and practice, so the team has such a vast knowledge, and I think you gain from what other team members are experiencing and doing. There's a sharing of information. The training that Market America gives in general just helps me to cultivate my business, even the component of it that isn't related to the product. And, just listening to Angel talk about it, it's like, this isn't just about Market America or about nutraMetrix. This is about any kind of business that you're going to be in. And to have someone who has already been to business school telling you about that, or somebody who's studied nutrition and has a degree in it to relay how they use the products, it's just invaluable.
So good. And I feel like we shouldn't talk about Dr. Nancy Miller-Ely without bringing her up.
No, don't.
So we should bring her up. Nancy, if you're with us and you're ready, we'll give you kudos, Nancy, because not just are we so grateful that you stalked little Spitfire, cutie patootie, Sherry Black to bring her into our community, but we know that you have led so much with, and I don't want to say it in a negative way. I want to say this with the utmost respect and positive way, that in the hand holding that you provide, Nancy, and you're like that mama bird with your team, and you push them right to the edge, but you're then hurry down to the bottom to catch them if they're going to fall, and just say, we're right here, we'll fly together. And I really love and appreciate that you have created. Sherry, anything else you want to brag on? You're one of your business besties, Dr. Nancy, before we give her the stage.
Well, I studied nutrition when I was a nurse, but I never had the depth of knowledge. And she's up here. And if I can just get, 10% of what she says and 10% of what Dee says, I'll be solid.
Dr. Nancy Miller-Ely does have quite a background, and she's trained with us since I know I've been in the audience with nutraMetrix, so right there in the beginning. Dr. Nancy Miller-Ely is a trainer for nutraMetrix for our division TLS. Dr. Nancy Miller-Ely has written white papers for the government on obesity. This woman is the real deal. Her resume is so long, and what she has done, she's helped me understand our products, our positioning, and why it's so unique in a way that has made it really simple, where I now feel pretty confident to read double-blind, placebo-controlled studies like I've never been able to before. Thank you, Dr. Nancy. Thank you to Sherry, and go right ahead and tell us a little bit more about your team.
All right. Thank you, Sarah. I'd like to thank the whole nutraMetrix team, not only for putting this event together, but for giving me the opportunity to chat a little bit about it. Sarah already introduced me. You guys, I think many of you already know me. I'm really very pleased and proud to be affiliated with nutraMetrix. My background is that I worked in the government, and I did serve as the program leader for nutrition. I also did nutrition-related research. So my introduction to the company was through a good friend who was a veterinarian, and Dr. D, her name is also Dr. D, said to me, I think that you might really see some value in some of these products. We have this product called OPC, and I said, oh, you mean oligomeric anthocyanidins? She's like, how do you know that? I said, well, how do you know it? So it was amazing for me to find out that there's a company and a division that actually had products that were based on much of the research that I had been involved with. So I feel like nutraMetrix and TLS go hand in hand. So it makes sense to me that we combine the two. And I'm going to get to talk a little bit about that as we talk about what we do with GeneSnip. So because I am a scientist, obviously I gravitated towards the GeneSnip tool. I really am a big fan of the test, don't guess philosophy. And when we first introduced GeneSnip, I'll just be candid and say it was maybe a little bit complicated or cumbersome to be able to really work through all of the details and to get to from the lab report to a final report that you could sit down and review with the patient or client. But now I really do feel like the GeneSnip is as simple as 1, 2, 3. And so, we're basically going to just get the data from the lab. We're going to put it into the special data processing spreadsheet, which our health professionals can download in the back office. And then we're going to review the data. We're going to break it down. We look at 8 different areas of health, which is amazing. And it makes it really, really easy for somebody to start to learn how to use genetic testing to support what they're doing. Also, the genetic testing, from my perspective, is an incredible distinguishing feature. What's different about the nutraMetrix gene SNP testing, versus other, programs that are out there is one, the name of the patient is never affiliated with the actual sample except in the practitioner's office. That's a huge advantage. And so there's no concerns regarding, uh, them selling the data. They don't sell the genetic samples. Everything is, done in such a way to assure the integrity of the sample and the anonymity of the client. And that is a very appealing thing to me. Also, our gene SNP test, because it's just a buccal swab or a cheek swab, can just be done with somebody of any age, which is pretty amazing too. So once we actually send the sample off and get the data back, then we put it into this spreadsheet. And there's like several tabs in that spreadsheet which really explain and kind of summarize the data. You don't have to be a genetic expert to use GeneSNP as a tool. I'm not trained in genetics, okay? I feel like, I've gotten amazing training and insight from Dr. Deidre Mason, who has gone above and beyond to make this a usable tool for the nutraMetrix health professionals. Now, once you've got that spreadsheet, then we can start to look at bundle tallies. And some of you know that nutraMetrix put together bundles of products that fit with the different areas of health. So, for example, there's one that's related that we call it the Gut Guard bundle, okay? And that's, and then we have also, the methylator bundle related to B vitamins. So you don't even, once the data are in there and you've got your summaries and you've, had a conversation with the patient, you're in a great position to be able to decide exactly where to start with both product and also lifestyle recommendations. And then you just print the final report. So, that's really, once we got it to a point where it could be sort of automated, we got super excited about it. The lab report that you get from DeskBio, who is the processing lab, it's, this is just very small. You're not meant to read it, but you can see that for each SNP here, there are only like maybe 2 or 3 lines of information. Dr. Deidre Mason put together a report for us. We call it affectionately the 144-page report, because we look at 48 unique SNPs, and there's 3 different variations for each one. So that's 48 times 3 for those of you that want to do the math. And then we pick out the appropriate page for the particular genetic variation that patient has. So now, instead of getting 2 sentences about what that means, now they're getting a full page of information, which is just so valuable. And it's, it got information in there related to, it's got kind of cliff notes in it. It's also got the propensity or the frequency in the population that people have that variation, along with what to do about it. It's no good just to tell somebody, this is your results, but not tell them what to do. I think one thing that people don't understand about gene SNP testing is that it's so important to make sure that we focus on the fact that our genes are not our destiny. We can turn up the good things and sort of turn down the less desirable things. And that's a huge, huge advantage. But this is just a spreadsheet showing you. So when the data come in, it would take us about, I would say, a good, somebody who's done it a lot of times can probably get all the SNPs entered in maybe 5 minutes. I think Brandy and I once did it in around 5 or 6 minutes. I would say somebody who's not familiar with it would take 10 minutes. But once you put the data in, just by marking a 1 next to the right genetic variation, it auto-populates and generates this bundle tally sheet with the 8 different areas of health and the percentage of SNPs that are potentially problematic. Then it generates also this particular sheet, which talks about the products. It's got the nicknames on there for the genes. It's just like very, very systematized. But I didn't want you to just, think that I'm the only one on the team doing this. So we have a diverse team. You just heard from Sherry Black, who's, I did truly stalk her through a group, a holistic health practitioner group many years ago now. But we have registered nurses. We have MDs on our team. We have physician's assistants, occupational therapists, physical therapists, acupuncturists, naturopaths, and registered dietitians. So it's all of them are using this. And we have the good fortune of being able to all do a workshop together with Dr. Deidre Mason about 1.5 years ago. We also have personal trainers, and I'm going to give an example of data from one of my partners, Manny Rothmiller, who's given me permission to share his story. And, they also see value in this in terms of optimizing performance and also ensuring the appropriate recovery and even selecting the right exercise. as a team, we've completed about 70 gene snips. It's a little more than that now. And we've gained incredible insights, resulting in lifestyle changes and choices. So, I think some of the key things that our HPs have talked about are they love the 8 areas of health. So even if you're like a mental health counselor, you could still be able to share insights with regard to somebody's, heart health, for example. The fact that it's a rapid automated processing of the lab data gives us more time really to review the results and prepare our comments or conversation to have with the patient. The customized report capability with the bullet notes and the detailed info that Dr. D has created for us is just extremely well received by patients. They feel like they're getting an incredible value for their financial investment. And then finally, the bundle tally sheet is an important tool along with the product and lifestyle recommendations, and I'll show you that then. But right now, I want to show you a quick video from my colleagues, and these are busy health practitioners, so just to get everybody together was kind of a big deal. So we couldn't get everybody on the team, but we have a few people to hear from here. Hi, it's Nancy Miller-Ely, and I'm here with some of my colleagues from Team TLC. And Team TLC is a caring group of both health professionals and wellness coaches who are really dedicated to helping people be the best version of themselves. One of the tools that we really are excited about is the nutraMetrix gene snip test. So what I've invited my colleagues to do is to talk just a little bit about why they like the test and if they had any special insight that they gained from having the testing done, either for themselves, for their family, or for a client. So I'm going to start with my colleague, Amy Larson. Amy's a physician's assistant working in pain management. Amy, what do you think about gene snip?
So one of the things that I really love about gene snip is that you're getting real data. A lot of us may or may not know our family medical history, and if we do, we're making a lot of assumptions of what our risk may be. But here you actually are able to get the real data, and it really gives you a lot of insight into what's going on for you.
Did you have any insights that you gained from being able to see the tests? I know that we've looked at several tests together. We saw some pretty cool things.
Yeah, the one thing that I really like too is, it gives you insight into what's going on for you, but I realized things really start to make sense. For example, when I did mine, I had a lot of SNPs just for sleep. And I never really thought about how important sleep was for me. When I was able to go look back at a time in my life when I really wasn't getting good, adequate sleep, it all started to make sense. I felt like, oh my gosh, I really wasn't functioning well. It was not at my best. And perhaps had I made it a priority, then, all those things kind of would have fallen into place. And instead of burning the candle at both ends, I would have been more productive. So
that's a great example, Amy. And I think so often, like you're saying, people, they're not shocked by the results, but it's like very reaffirming. They're like, yes, that makes so much sense. But now they actually, like you said, they have the data, which is awesome.
And I think in doing so, it kind of, for a lot of people, can reaffirm your commitment. You still may not be perfect, but you realize why, okay, it is really important for me for it to take the omega-3s. And if I don't, this is where it can impact me, or, just different things like that. So
awesome. Yeah, I think that gene snip being able to allow us to know not only what to do, but why to do it, I think is huge. Yes. Thank you so much for your comments. I'm going to move to my colleague, Laura Buckley. Laura is a registered dietitian and also a life coach. Laura, what do you think about gene snip and how has it worked for you and your clients?
I love gene snip. I think it is such a great tool. I love, like Amy said, having that real data to work with, but also being able to then balance it with what the patient is presenting with or the client is presenting with, so that we can create a regimen that just makes so much sense, both for what their genes say and also what they're experiencing in real life. So I just think it is such a wonderful tool to be able to put together a plan of action more quickly and get results more quickly as well. So I think it's great.
And what about from your personal experience with gene snip? I know that you've had that done for yourself and for several clients.
Yeah, I have, and I would say, just my own personal experience with gene snip was just amazing. I think that I always say, like, I went on my first diet when I was 10, and then for the next 25 years, I struggled to figure things out. And then so much of what I had tried in my life and what had worked or hadn't worked was reflected right there in gene snip for me. And I was just like, man, if I had known this so many years ago, I could have kind of cut to the chase, right? So I would have been able to get those answers so much more quickly. And it's funny to me, not funny, haha, but like the whole product that brought me in to nutraMetrix was the activated B complex. And so that was just a passing statement, right, Nancy? I think you said something along the lines of, oh, people who've experienced a lot of anxiety tend to do well with activated B complex. And I was like, tell me more. And I got started with that product and saw such great results before I even knew that I had MTHFR. But seeing the gene snip just align so well with my own personal experience was just really great for me. It's very powerful.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, I think as all of us have the opportunity to be able to gain more information, we can save people a lot of time. We all went to the school of hard knocks trying to be our own best patient advocate, right?
And stress and money and all the things.
And then now we have Dr. Tatiana Resnikoff, and Dr. Tatiana is a pain management physician up in Reisterstown, Maryland. Dr. Tatiana, why do you like GeneSnip?
I like this SNP test not only because it can show what kind of problem patient has, but also can make some projection in the future. Because sometimes people do not have full, clear picture of the symptoms.
Right.
But we can kind of warn people what they can do and what they cannot do. So let them move in the right way.
That's a really good point. Yeah.
This is also very important, especially if you like 30, 35 and you do have some problem, but you still do not have full syndrome, like we call. And all of a sudden you can say, okay, you can do this, but cannot do this. If people or patient would like to listen, they probably will listen. Because sometimes it's really hard to change everything in a couple months. Yeah. So people, human being nature is very impatient. We would like fast, quick fix, whatever you think about this. But if they really would like to add, remember on one conference, this was statement that I usually use for my patient all the time, that add some life to your year, right?
Exactly.
So this is why I think that GeneSnip is very important.
Yeah, I think, it allows people to be the best version of themselves. And it's so important because we can turn up the good stuff and turn down the bad stuff through nutritional interventions. Did you gain any special insights, Dr. Tatiana? I know that I helped you do GeneSnips for several family members.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it was kind of very interesting to look backward and see why you're doing so well and why not doing so well, right? For me, it also was vitamin B complex. Personally, I increase the dosage and I feel difference. But would like to talk about my husband because he used to be a very successful Olympic power weightlifter. And here we are. We did his GeneSnip test and realized that he needs this exercise because this is his gene. This is how he makes such a good success in this field. So it was very funny when we discovered this. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your comments. Next, we have Sherry Black. Sherry's a registered nurse and an acupuncturist and one of the co-founders of East West Healing Arts. Sherry, what do you think about GeneSnip?
Well, for me personally, it was quite a revelation. When I was an infant, just a week old, I was adopted. And thereafter, every time I filled out a form for some health care, and they asked me about my medical history, I just put unknown. Right. Because I really knew nothing about it. And what I learned, one thing I learned is that I'm predisposed to obesity, I'm predisposed to cardiovascular disease. And I think back of my life, and thank goodness that I was very athletic as between ages really 10 and 19, spent, 4 or 5 hours a day doing sports. And it turns out that any kind of sports, unlike Dr. Tatiana's husband, any kind of sports will do it for me. And then I went to nursing school, and of course everybody talks about how they gain weight, the freshman 15 or whatever they say. But for me personally, I just wasn't having any exercise, and I immediately probably put on 20 pounds. So that was really quite a reflective back and realization that, I need to keep doing that. I can't stop doing that. And also that, I've been doing low glycemic eating for a long time, and I learned that this is absolutely the kind of meal plan that I need.
Yeah, that's awesome, Sherry. Thank you so much for those comments. Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. And last but not least is our friend and colleague, Pat Basic. Pat's an occupational therapist working in Severna Park, Maryland. Pat, why do you like GeneSNP, and what did you gain in terms of insights from the test?
Well, I really like it as an evaluative tool because it's hard data. It's your genes, and there's no lying about it, and it's very clear like what the picture is once you get the information. So that's why I liked it. And we have a big history of diabetes in our family and weight gain after a certain age, and some inflammatory issues with arthritis. So I was looking back at my grandparents and my parents, and I was following in that path. And once I did the GeneSNP, it was clear what was happening with the foods that I was eating and what I needed to do, the plan of what I needed to do, and then the kind of exercise I needed to do to maximize what was happening with me physically. So I think I had a lot of inflammation that I didn't know about, and that I know when I go from on the wayside of the low glycemic way of eating, I see it come back almost immediately. So I can feel the difference, and then I move the bar back, and I feel a lot better. So it was very clear from the GeneSNP that was what was happening.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of things that people aren't aware of are just the wide range of topics covered by GeneSNP, everything from heart health to hormones to weight loss. To B vitamin metabolism. And so there's a lot of information that can be garnered, which is why it's so suitable for such a wide range of health professionals. So I want to thank you, ladies, for joining me this evening. And please, continue your excellent work helping people be the best version of themselves. Thank you,
Nancy.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much.
So I hope you enjoyed that. We would have loved to have everybody live, but we figured we better pre-record it. And so I really appreciate my colleagues taking the time to put forth, their comments. I think one of the key messages here for everyone, though, is that they all did the GeneSNP test themselves. And just going back to what Angel said in the introductory segment, it's very important that we sort of be a product of the product, that we share our experiences. And, when we do it and the information makes so much sense for us, then it's so much easier to talk about it authentically when we're talking with a client or patient. One of the things I just want to highlight, because we don't have a ton of time, is just the amazing, descriptive names that go with the genes. People don't really care if they have the ETV5, variant. They care that it's the ADD, ADHD gene. And I just want everybody who ever does the test to know that we consider that particular gene a feature and not a problem if you happen to have one of the red, in quotes, variants. But we've color coded it so that things are red, yellow, or green. So you can look right away at this report with the recommendations for products and lifestyle comments and know if something's, potentially problematic, neutral, or if you perhaps have the good fortune of having a gain gene. And again, we want to highlight for people what's going well with them, as well as what could be problematic. And Dr. Tatiana made such an important point that it's not like it's a crystal ball to see into the future, but we can give people some insights, and encourage them to be vigilant with their health. This is just what it looks like when we get back the bundle tallies. I wanted to just highlight for you, once in a while, we'll get somebody that has all 10 of the SNPs. This is a real client. And she looked at this and was just very distraught. I looked at it and said, oh my gosh, we are so fortunate, because it looks like there's just one main area of health that we really need to address. But most importantly, let me ask you, what is it that you want to work on? What is it that's problematic for you? Turns out, in all probability, she had an autoimmune disease, but she hadn't really thought about telling me about that in advance. So we really do have to look how the person presents. We don't treat the numbers, we treat the people. And so this test just provides the data to be able to support suggestions. And as we look on here, you'll see that some of the genes overlap between different areas. So you'll see the MTHFR gene here under stress and mental health, as my colleague Laura recommended. And then it's over here, of course, under methylation as well. So we can affect more than one area of health when we go with the product recommendations that go with it. Wanted to give you one real live example, and this is from my colleague, Manny Rothmiller. Manny's my personal trainer, and I tried to get him excited about TLS some years ago, about a year and a half ago now, and he just wasn't having anything about it. But when I talked to him about my experience and what I learned about my own health from doing GeneSNP, he wanted to do the testing. And he was really relieved to get his results back, and he told me that it's fine for me to share his story. He had and knew that he had concerns with regard to anxiety and stress and mental health. And he also had challenges with weight, which you don't see that in that amazing photo, but just know that he chose to be a personal trainer because he wanted to keep his weight under control. Fast forward, he also felt that he was suffering from some PTSD as a result of service in the military, which is a very real problem for people. And now he understands, looking at his genetics, that he was sort of predisposed, perhaps, to being more significantly impacted than maybe another person would be. So his response to receiving the GeneSNP results was that he was so excited. It made sense to him. It allowed him to reaffirm his lifestyle choices. It gave him the answers to some questions that he had. And he's been systematically testing his family so that they can be the best version of themselves. And he has training clients that he refers for GeneSNP testing as well. But when he did the test, he had some success with keto because, again, he rejected my suggestion about TLS, right? So we look at his actual data. We have a lifestyle tab on here now that talks about how we should eat. Manny has 5 out of 5 low net carb genes, but he does not have the keto gene. We actually can look for that. So keto worked for him primarily because it was a low carb approach. He has since embraced TLS. We're currently running with P and his team. He became a partner. And we're running a large group right now. We call it Summer Success. We have 54 participants focused on TLS, healthy eating. And then, many people are incorporating other things that they learned from the GeneSNP. So if somebody really wants to fine tune their approach to TLS and weight loss, this is an amazing tool for that, I think. The GeneSNP advantage, I think, is that it's a turnkey system with 8 different areas. And you don't have to be a genetics expert to use GeneSNP as a tool in your practice. You don't need to be a cardiologist to highlight the results for somebody who may have a higher risk for potential cardiovascular risk factors. nutraMetrix GeneSNP offers educational programs. So there's 101s and 201s. I'll be doing a workshop next Sunday, and we'll give you that date in a second, the link, so you can join in if you'd like. And Sarah and Dee run mastermind groups too to encourage proficiency. So I think it's a really incredible distinguishing feature for any medical practice and perfect for TLS. So sometimes people have questions. So the kinds of questions I get are, well, how long does it take? And what do you have to do step by step? And are there strategies for reviewing the data? And, when you talk with patients and prioritize next steps, what do you say? And, why do neutral SNPs recommend daily essentials and omegas? People want to know those kind of the backstory on these things. And maybe you'd like to just see how GeneSNP reports, stack up for a family. So, for example, I showed you Manny's report, but his wife has had her report done, and the kids have had reports done. So we're going to be focusing on some of those when I do a GeneSNP workshop for the nutraMetrix team next Sunday from 1 to 4 p.m. If you want to grab a screen capture of that, I'd love for you to join us. This workshop is open to everyone. So you can be a nutraMetrix consultant. You can be a health professional. We won't be going in detail in the 144-page report, but we will be going through an exactual how-to. Anybody that participates in the workshop will have the opportunity to actually process data in the spreadsheet, see exactly how it works, and then you'll be well equipped to be able, both as an NC to talk to HPs about it, or as an HP to be able to have the opportunity to, get started with this in your practice. So thank you, Sarah, for the opportunity to chat and share what we're doing with GeneSNP.
Nancy, it's always a pleasure, and I can't wait for your workshop. I'm really excited about it. A week from today, I threw it in the notes here. I also have it on Facebook. I really hope it's well attended. And Nancy, you deserve a break because I know that you trained almost 200 people yesterday. You're on now with, I think, we've probably had about 1,000 people between all of our different platforms coming and going. And thank you so much for all of that.
You're more than welcome. Thank you for organizing an amazing event today.
Wish I was there to hug you. That's what I'm missing.
I missed that part too.
segment where we're talking about teamwork. We're talking about being a product of the product, and specifically doing this around GeneSnip, because we really think that GeneSnip is one of those things that makes nutraMetrix rocks. It is here in the United States. It is something that's available just for our nutraMetrix health providers. You know, we get this question all the time. So sorry, New York State. New York State doesn't allow testing facilities to utilize tests if the facility's not in New York State. So that's the only restriction on that. But all of the other 49 states have access to GeneSnip. And we want to bring on my friend, who I've gotten to know the past couple weeks, Marianne Nutt, to tell a little bit more about her compelling GeneSnip story. I think this is going to answer a lot more of those questions that people have been putting in the chat about the practical application of GeneSnip, how it works. What I really like about Marianne has a background, as I'm talking, Marianne, I don't see you yet, so let's see if we can get your camera up as well. Marianne is a licensed massage therapist, but she has a really unique story that I'm excited for her to touch upon. I'm also happy for her to tell you a little bit about how specifically this has helped her with her own personal journey and within her community, how she just started with nutraMetrix in February. So it's been, just a short amount of time. And since, Marianne, do you mean to be showing your screen? I don't know if you mean to be doing that. So I don't know if you want to stop screen share. And yeah, I see your friends cheering you on already, Marianne. And Marianne, in a short period of time, just since February, has already done, and I don't know, this was just the other day, so you may have even done more, but I know that you've recommended and swabbed 12 people so far since just February. And so we're really excited to hear more about you. You're all set now, Marianne. That looks perfect. You look great. Your lighting is great. Your hair looks fabulous. And Marianne, I'm going to give you the floor because you need all the time to get all that goodness out there. And then when you wrap up, I'll come back and we'll end this second segment.
Well, hi, Sarah. Hi, everybody. It's so nice to meet you and be part of nutraMetrix. It is a life changer for me. In my story, I'm going to start in 1989. On March 30th, I became a 31-year cancer survivor this year. March 30th, 1989, I was in surgery at this point, and they removed my upper right jaw and part of the roof of my mouth. I had mucoepidermoid carcinoma. How would a young, healthy mother of a 1 and 3-year-old who had been an athlete all through school have cancer? I remember when I went to my dentist with a lump, and he said, we need to have you checked. And then after I had been diagnosed, he said, in 89, 1 or 2 dental patients would be diagnosed with cancer. And he said, you're my one. Of all things, I lived in a little hometown that had no stoplight. I was a third child of my parents. I was the surprise baby. My parents were 36 and 40 when I came along. And I had an amazing life. I played sports all through high school. And then I met the love of my life even before I was in high school. We have been married 37 years now. And I went to beauty school right out of high school. And then, children, and I was diagnosed with cancer. So on March 30th, after they did all those surgeries, I ended up having to have 10 reconstructive surgeries in my mouth over the course of the next 20 years or so. And it has been a lifetime of struggle for me. I have always appeared healthy. I thought I always did my best. I always needed naps, though. It seems like there was always this tiredness. There was always something coming up health-wise with me, and we just couldn't figure it out. And so, what a struggle, to first being diagnosed with cancer is it's not the words you want to hear coming out of an oral surgeon's mouth. And then to walk it out and you've conquered it and you're going to walk out life and make it. Because I remember bartering. God, I want to raise my kids. They were so little, and since then I have had one more. So I now have 3 children who have all married. So that means I have 6 children who have all had children, and now I have 9 grandchildren on top of it. So, to go from that scary moment to abundance is really awesome. But the abundance didn't have good health. So last September, I was trying to lose weight again, and it wasn't coming off. I had went off of all wheat, all yeast, all sugar. I was drinking a gallon of water a day, and I didn't lose a pound. I'm telling you, I was very frustrated. And I work with a gal, and she was looking really good. I'm thinking, what is she doing? What does she do? And so we started talking about this, and it's actually Danae Tate, who is my business associate now. But back then, she said, Marianne, I think we need to do a gene snip on you. And I said, tell me about it. And I'm thinking, let's do it. I've had enough of this struggle with my health. And so we did that, and my snip came back in 4 weeks. And so in October, I began a new journey that was dictated by what was really internal within me. The one thing that I always wondered was the whys to some of the things in my life. And my methylator line, I had 7 out of 8 that were checked off. I cannot process chemicals. I wondered why when I'd put nail polish on my fingers, I would taste lacquer. I would taste it. I wondered why when I went to a hairdresser and they would wash my hair to get it ready to cut, by the time I left, my head would be broke out. I wondered why in 2010 I'd been bedridden for 1.5 years. We just never had the answers. And when you look at your gene snip and you look at your lifestyle, which I wasn't doing everything right by any means, I finally had some answers. And so we put me on some base supplements, and we changed my diet because of it telling what you can eat. I should never eat cauliflower, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, or cabbage. And those are the ones people say to eat because they're healthy, but they have a toxin in them or a chemical in them I can't process. And so I began. And the cool part about this whole thing was how fast my health transformation was. I changed diet. I went into it 100%. I did the supplements I was told to. And I'll tell you, one of the first indications of realizing other people were noticing, we were out with some friends playing cards, and my husband went to do the calculator, went to figure something, and I whipped off the number. And it was like, where did that come from? And then it wasn't about 5 minutes, and he had to do it again. And I'm telling you, the number was there. And my friend, who was my partner, she was a bank manager, and she couldn't believe, she goes, what is going on with you? Because I didn't even keep score. I would struggle so bad just to even use a calculator. But that was one of the first indications that things were really changing. And so in January, Danae and I started talking about the business, and I'll be honest, I got a little frustrated. I wanted in it, and I wanted in it now. And she said, nope, we're going to go through a little process so you see more. And it was good because it made me want it even more. And so in February, I had my first 101 where I shared the business and shared about nutraMetrix and gene snip, and I shared my testimony. And that best friend who I played cards with was one of my first gene snips, because she had seen what was happening to me. In that same class, I had a gal who ended up being in town, I don't believe in coincidences by any means. She was in town, so she came to the class. And so we went out to dinner afterwards, and the night before, and she said, Marianne, what are you doing? There's something different about you. And I started grinning because I'm thinking, ooh, I said, I took a gene snip and it told what's going on with my body. And so I started changing diet and I started doing this. And she said, I'll tell you, and she only saw me on Facebook in photos, recent photos. She said, there were times when, and we're talking probably 10 years ago, there were times when you were so chalky, so ill looking that it really concerned me. And I thought, wow, how in the world could somebody see that on a photo? But she could. And so hence my second gene snip. Well, that excited me. It got me going. And so one of the things that I did was, if I was going to do it, I am a giver. That's who I am. I have a heart to take care of people. I am a medical massage therapist. My focus has been in oncology, massage, and lymphatic wellness. And so I've always been around people who a lot of times weren't understood when they were struggling, because I got it. I understood what it was like to have 72 office calls in 2.5 years, to be low on money because you're running back and forth or having to find babysitters, way back then. And so I've always had the heart for people who've struggled. So when I started doing Gene Snip, they've been running a promotion where they said, if you do 2, the third one, you will not have to pay for the lab part of it. And so my heart said, all right, then the third one, my 3 children will be my first goal. That's my goal, because my Gene Snip also told me that I should be having my offspring have it. I have a few issues, and I'll own them, because now I know what to do, and life is changing and I have hope. But so my first one was one of my daughters. The second one was my son. The third one was my third daughter. And I'm sitting here, I know Sarah said I've done 12. Well, I have, and I had to have another one. And so the last one that I want to share with you about Gene Snip wise, she is a little toddler who was in the foster care system, had went and was cared for, had a lot of health issues on oxygen, on a feeding tube, and many, many other health issues. And I just fell in love with this family. I fell in love with this child. And so that was going to be my 4th one. And I have to tell you, 2 weeks ago, I got to go take this Gene Snip to this family for this little one. And normally when they're tube fed, they don't want you around their mouth or anything. And Mama was able to go in there and do the Gene Snip. And I cried. I mean, I don't know if you've ever had your heart cry, but that was a moment where this is what it's about for me. It's making a difference in lives who appear hopeless, because that's how I felt on and off my whole life. And so the fun part that really affected me with this little one was when I went to turn and leave, because Mama did it. I stayed at a distance. When I went to walk back to my car, I was leaving, I heard, bye-bye, Marianne. She's little. And I'm like, that was her. Now, mind you, she's guarded around people. Well, I talked to Mom a couple days later, and she cried that I left. And I'm thinking, she has no idea what that little heart was doing for this heart who desires to help people. And so, it's about being a product of the product. This is life-changing. I have had so many health changes. I wouldn't exercise before, and it's something I should do. It hurt me every time, and for days. Sometimes if I would work out, I could be weeks aching. I can work out now. And it's awesome because I'm seeing things tighten up. They have not been tight for a while, you know what I mean? And so then I had to have another goal, because those were my first 4 goals actually of my business. And so I went to my husband. I said, all right, do you want the gene snip? And he said, well, yeah, I'd love to have it. He says, but I don't want you to give it to me. He goes, I'm stubborn. I'm not going to do what it says. And he looked at me and says, Marianne, you need to give it to people who you know need it and who will help your business. And so I'm going to tell you, I have my next 3 on my list. 2 of them know. One has cried over it because of the struggle. And so this girl's on a move, because Gene Snip is life changing. And I'll tell you, to have a team, to have a coworker, you know, an associate who's sitting there with me, that I can call and say, okay, this is what's going on. Will you help me? Because I never had a lot of nutrition training before this. I will say, because of being a massage therapist and having a little more time right now, the Zoom classes that I have bought into this business, I have had, I would say, a minimum of 75 classes since February. It's a choice. Life is choices, and I'm choosing to live and make the most of every moment. And do I stop and rest sometimes? Absolutely. It's Sunday. I'm taking a nap later today. That's what I do, whether I sleep or read a book. I need that rest time, but we have to make the most of every moment. And this business is one that not only affects me because of how much it's changed me and helped my health, help my mental capability, help my appearance, and help the aches and pains. I don't hurt. It's crazy. I don't hurt anymore. It now has become a mission to help those who I can see need it at this point, and others who do that I haven't met yet. I can't wait. I'm going on a little vacation this week. I'm taking 3 gene snips with me. I don't have anybody lined up, but my goal is to bring them back or send them out while I'm there, because life is too short. People are going to know the testimony because it changes people. It changes people. I love it. I love what you have here at nutraMetrix, and our team is above and beyond, and so are people who aren't even part of our team. So, you know, I was on your class yesterday, Dr. Nancy. I learned so many things, and it put so many things in place. It's good stuff. Good stuff.
Marianne, so many people I think in the audience right now are running and grabbing their tissues, and I know your heart and generosity is felt through the little tiny lens that you're looking into. I can feel it. I get goosebumps. I'm also blown away. So if anyone wants to hear more from Marianne, a lot of people are saying, how do I share Marianne and keep her in my pocket every single day? You can, because we captured a story already with Marianne, our first of, I hope, many stories that we capture on YouTube. And so go to our YouTube channel. Marianne, you've inspired me, because this year, in January, when my husband and I make goals, I said to him that we really need to buckle down, and my kids are little, and I want to teach them all the principles that you're talking about here, and the biggest one being generosity. And the biggest one being having a mission and a purpose above and beyond just the business goals. You know, just getting to the next level, but having some sort of charitable goals tied into that. And, you know, I keep waiting for that moment that's like, what's going to inspire me, so I figure it out. And I think I have a lot more clarity around that after just listening to, you know, you again. And I know now we've talked multiple times over the past couple weeks preparing for this. So thank you so much for that, and impacting so many. And guys, Marianne's just getting started. So that's all I can do.
I set the goals. We're going. You know, Sarah, I've got one more little thing I want to throw in. When we change one life, it changes that family, and it changes the people around them. then it changes the community. Is part of the struggle in our society because people just don't feel good and don't know what to do. You know, it starts one to a time, and look what we can do. Look what's offered to us through all these classes and the people who want to help others. It's just exciting.
Thank you so much, Marianne. Can't wait to hear from more. She brings up a really interesting point as well, because I'm going to bring on my next speaker. And in prepping for this event, it's so different. I had to different than other events, because typically, and I can only speak for myself, and I know my friends, we spend some time in the salon and get our nails done. Well, you're not going to see any polish on these girls' nails because my salon hasn't been opened in a while, right? Or we have to factor in the travel time. Well, I just had to make sure I can make it from the top of my stairs to the bottom of my stairs to walk into my office. So, things have been changing, and you can see how someone who has such a physical practice like Marianne Nutt has now, said, well, how can I change and learn more and do more things that are virtual? And this segment that I'm about to kick off, which is how to create raving fans, and our first speaker of this segment, Dr. Brian Brown. This segment was earmarked and in the books about a year ago. I know that I've really always looked up to Dr. Brian for his innovation in healthcare, his way to be able to capture the attention of so many, whether it's through his podcast, his social media, his presence on the web, the team that he's built with his office staff and how they are virtual. Remember the last time I saw you in person, Dr. Brian, per usual, you had a nice sun-kissed glow on your face. And I'm like, I just don't get it, because I know you work 3 times harder than I do. So how do you have time to go out there and get a tan on your face? And you were like, Sarah, it's virtual. I mean, you're living that, nomad laptop lifestyle that we all dream of. And so I am just so excited to hear your take on how you've been able to do this in healthcare, a little more about your practice. I'm going to give you all the time you need. So Dr. Brian Brown, functional DNP, Doctorate of Nursing Practice in Tennessee. Don't let the charm fool you, guys, all right? That Southern charm that he's going to give, because when it comes to health and wellness, he is a drill sergeant. He will get right down to it. So thank you so much, Dr. Brian, for being here with us.
Thank you, Sarah, Brandy, and Dr. D, the entire nutraMetrix brand team. Consider it a huge honor to be here in front of you today, talking about something that's really, really, really passionate for me, and that's building a virtual practice model. I want to kick this off by starting out with the benefits of a virtual practice model. And whether you're an HP or a nutraMetrix consultant, I think there's a lot of key takeaways in here. As we're progressing forward as a society, we're going to see more and more health professionals transitioning into this virtual model. So the first benefit that I see is actually freedom for clients. Most of our clients are, increasingly more busy. And this type of model actually gives them the flexibility to receive care from the convenience of their home or office. And in many cases, those two are synonymous, because as you said, Sarah, you just have to have the strength to walk from downstairs to upstairs or vice versa, wherever your office is. And there you are, you're at work. And so many people are doing that more and more these days. So clients actually see this as very freeing for them. I get the question asked a lot of times, well, Brian, you're doing this virtual practice model. How do you get any kind of kickback on that from clients? And the answer is no, because of the way we introduced it. And we actually introduced this about 5 years ago when, telehealth was not even that popular. I think I started being tuned into that because coming out of psychiatry, we actually adopted telehealth very early before any other discipline did. It was real clunky. The technology was not good. Video was real grainy. There were a lot of problems with it. So I wasn't an early adopter as far as 15 years ago when psychiatry started using that. But in the past 5 years, I have adopted that, and I think probably a little bit ahead of the curve compared to a lot of my peers out there. And I want to bring them along because I think it's very freeing. So the way we introduced it to clients was, and this was in the early stages, was if you can't make your visit, would you prefer to do a telehealth visit? Because what we found is that many times people, it wasn't the actual time of the visit, it was the transit time. Now, in our office, we do a concierge practice model. So I pride myself on you never have to wait more than 5 minutes to be seen for an hour, because we do 1 hour visits with each client. Whereas in a traditional practice, a lot of time the waiting room is crowded. You're waiting for 30 minutes to an hour, and you're seen for a very short period of time. I don't do that type of model. It's a concierge practice. It's functional integrative medicine. And so I see clients on the hour. And what we found was it was the transit time, the commute time, that was getting in people's ways. So we said, listen, if you want to do a telehealth visit during your time slot, you can have that option. And they took it. We were surprised. 92% of people took us up on that, and we kept full schedules. Now, being a subscription-based type of practice, you could say it doesn't matter whether that person shows up or not. It does for me as a caring health professional. I want that person in front of me, whether it's virtually or face-to-face, because that's where the magic happens. That's where you can take hopeless and move it to hope. And you can show them the path and lead them along the way. Sarah calls me a drill sergeant. I don't think I'm a drill sergeant. I like educating people, and I want people to understand more about themselves than they do about the world around them. So that's one way. Freedom for health, freedom for our clients. It's freedom for us as health professionals. As Sarah said, I've been kind of living this laptop nomadic lifestyle for a while. I've literally done telehealth visits from the United Kingdom on vacation there, or as they would call it, on holiday there. I've literally done it from Jamaica, from the Dominican Republic, anywhere in the United States that you can imagine. But the most important one of all of those for me was 2.5 years ago when our grandchild was born. We were able to pick up, fly out there, be there in time for the birth, and we were there for an entire month. And I did telehealth visits during that entire time. So I would not have had the flexibility had I not put in place 2.5 years prior that ball in motion to be able to do those types of things. So that's what it's about. Those are the benefits for me and for clients. Now, next, I want to talk to you about a mindset shift. We have to look at changing our mindset, because it's different with brick and mortar practice versus a virtual practice. So philosophically, people, at least this is my philosophy, people are simply more digitally engaged these days, and it's growing logarithmically, meaning it's compounding every single day. As we're progressing as a society, clients are demanding this level of service. It's plain and simple. We're finding more and more new clients come in and asking, can we do telehealth visit? The answer is yes for most clients. Some clients, we put parameters on that. We actually need to follow up with you in the office face-to-face for a little while, and then we can do telehealth. But we determine that early on in the very early stages. And the other additional piece of the philosophical mindset I've got here is it dawned on me about 7 years ago that the millennial generation one day was going to be in a place where they were in midlife and beyond, which for most people, midlife and beyond is when they start becoming really, really interested in how do I stay younger? How do I stay healthier? How do I feel better? How do I make my brain function better? How do I have a better mood as I age? How do I avoid cardiovascular disease and things like that, and Alzheimer's and all those things? And my peers were like, you're crazy for focusing on millennials now because they're not even thinking like that. Well, they're the last one laughing because I'm actually being taken seriously now. The millennials that we're having coming into our practice, and this is a foundation we started laying 7 years ago, the millennials we have coming into our practice that are early midlife, so they're around age 35, they're really keenly interested in staying healthy. And I think getting feedback from them, they're saying it's because they don't want to go down the same path that they've seen their predecessors go through. Previous generations have problems with. And here's another cool thing that I picked up just talking to them about this, is they see the benefit of investing in their wellness care as being able to help them support the lifestyle that they want. So that's philosophically where I am. And regardless of whether I own my practice or the person that I sell my practice to in the future owns my practice, I want to set that practice up for the best success they can possibly have when they take it over. So if I put measures in place now to meet the needs of the millennial generation, then I'm leagues ahead of everybody else when they're trying to scramble around figuring all this stuff out. So let's talk about mindset from a virtual business practice model, because it does require a little bit different mindset. Actually, it requires a drastic shift in your mindset. You deserve to break free from the commodity mindset and the insurance mindset. Now, we're not going to get into debate whether insurance is good or bad. That's not why I'm here. But I don't personally bill insurance for the level of care that I do. I tried to do it the first 9 months. I opened up my practice 12 years ago, my functional medicine practice 12 years ago. I almost went under because I'm an ethical biller. When you're seeing patients on the hour, there's no code to allow for that level of service. And there are a lot of times we're treating things at the subclinical level. We're treating things at the functional level. So there are actually no codes to give a diagnosis for what you're doing. And I found it quite unethical to try to scrimp and figure things out to try to make it fit into an insurance model. It just doesn't fit. So how did I break free from that? Well, I'll tell you how I broke free from it. And I'll tell anybody. The two ways you can do it is you can just say, I'm closing the doors on the insurance practice. I'm opening up a cash pay practice. That's one way to do it. You have to have a lot of capital. You have to have probably, I would say safely, 2 years of revenue saved back so you can keep paying your staff and keep paying yourself. I didn't do it that way. I thought there's got to be a smarter way to do this. And I thought, okay, I'm going to form a separate corporation for my cash pay business. And once I had that done, I then took a half a day off my schedule over here in the insurance business, and I put a half a day available for the cash pay business. Once that filled up on that half day, I took another half a day away from the insurance business and put a whole day over here for the cash pay business. And I kept doing that. It took about a year to get those half day increments filled up until my entire week was full. And I'd fully replaced the insurance business. So that's one of the ways you can do it. I found it the easiest because, unfortunately, I did have to keep my insurance business day job to pay the bills. When you've got kids in private school and private college, the bills don't stop coming in, and you need to pay those bills. So, but I knew I wanted out, and I knew I had to put a plan in place to make that happen. Now let's transition to commodity mindset thinking. As a virtual practice owner, you want to uncommoditize your business as quickly as possible in the virtual environment. What do I mean by that? Because this is probably new terminology for you. What I mean by this is this. If I were a shoe salesman, regardless of whether it's a virtual business or a brick and mortar business, if I'm a shoe salesman and I sell shoes in my store, then I compete with every other shoe salesperson in the entire world. And the problem with this model is it's a virtual race to the bottom, competing on lowest price. It's commodity pricing. However, there's an answer. If I think outside the box and allow myself to do that, I can then become a foot healthcare specialist. In other words, I'm still selling shoes, but instead of just selling shoes, I sell, let's name it the Acme Custom Foot Health System, where I package together my shoes that I'm selling with a digital foot strike assessment, so we can see exactly how your foot is landing when you're walking. Then we're going to add a custom molded insole orthotic for maximum support and comfort. And then we're going to throw in 3 pairs of energizing athletic copper fiber socks. At that point, I no longer sell a commodity. At that point, I'm no longer competing with every other shoe salesperson on the market. I'm now, all of a sudden, I have something that's very proprietary, very unique, and very sellable and desirable by the clients that I want to attract. For health professionals, it's critical for us to wrap our minds around uncommoditizing ourselves. I think a lot of times we've been spoiled. I remember when I first went into practice over 20 years ago, literally hung a shingle out. I didn't run any advertising, and I went around to my referral sources and I said, hey, I'm new in town. I'm open for business. I did a few lunches with groups of referral source type people. And the next thing you know, the phone's ringing off the hook and I'm getting referrals. And that's the way I built my business. It was the easiest thing I've ever done. When you step into the virtual world, it's not that easy. And the reason is because you're swimming in a very, very large ocean, an ocean that, for all practical purposes, may as well be big as the universe itself. So how do you uncommoditize yourself and set yourself apart? Well, spinning off of the example that I gave you just a second ago, you need to bundle your products and services. Luckily, we have the nutraMetrix brand team, and they bundle gene SNP bundles for us based on, as Dr. Nancy so eloquently laid out for us, based on what's your highest percentage of where you're having the most problems. Here's where we need to start first. You're not laying everything on everybody at one time. You're just starting with the most important thing first. But that's a bundled product line. Now, I would challenge you as health professionals listening to this today that you would also bundle your services in with that. I know in the office, if somebody just wants to come in and do gene SNP, I have to mark that up because I'm going over the test results. I have to interpret the test results and go over the test results. But that's a bundled service for that gene SNP. There's some people that don't do that. There's some people that just do the gene SNP and go over the results with people and they don't charge them anything. That's fine. That's your business model. But bundled products and services are where it's at. That's one way. The second way to uncommoditize your business is develop your own proprietary system. Every single person on this call has a unique way of thinking. Whether you're an HP or an NC, you have a unique way of thinking. You have ways of doing your business that are your ways. You take the model that's presented to you and you say, well, I tweak it just a little bit here. That becomes a proprietary system if you can put it down on paper, develop a pathway that gets someone from where they are to where they want to be. And that becomes a proprietary system. On these two things alone, bundling services and developing your proprietary system, I've literally been in high-end coaching programs for 1 or more years to learn how to lay this out and do it effectively. So we don't have time to go into that in detail, but just know that those are options and you need to be thinking, you deserve to be thinking in that direction. So 2 practical steps, and this is how we're going to wrap this up. 2 practical steps for breaking into a virtual practice model. The first thing you need to do, the first step, is ask the question of what do your clients really need? Now, listen to that word need. But I want you to hang on because there's a little bit of a shocker here. They don't need what you have to offer. They only need food, clothing, and shelter. But here's the clincher. Before you have a heart attack, they deserve to have the very best of what you have to offer. In business, every single person on this call, NC, HP, it doesn't matter. I challenge us as a community to change our language from need to deserve. Let's think about that for a moment. If I say in my mind, that person needs what I have to offer, I'm setting up a system by which it can be manipulative. It doesn't have to be, but it can be. And it's certainly not inspirational. So you can lead by manipulation or you can lead by inspiration. It's your choice. All right. So if you use the word need, even in your thinking, you're putting that energy into the atmosphere where it changes the relationship that you have with people. And I know from experience, because I have just recently made this transition in my language. I started making this transition. It's hard to do when you use that word need all the time. And I have accountability partners in my life that we look out for that word in each other's language. But when you start working on it, when you're not working on it and you think, okay, that person needs what I have to offer, guess what you attract? You attract needy people. And none of us want needy people in our life. We want deserving people in our life. That's critical to understand. And one of the first things we need to, we deserve, see there, I use that word again, we deserve to use in our thinking is, what does a client need? No, what does a client deserve? They deserve the very best of what we have to offer. The number two thing, and this is where we'll wrap up, I want you to give yourself a break. This is a marathon, not a sprint. This is critical to understand. We need to take our time. We need to be patient with ourselves. We need to give ourselves some grace and understanding, and we need to do due diligence in our planning. The last thing you want to do is launch a product or service line half-cocked. I can guarantee you, if we were to get Dee and Brandy and Sarah to come out as a panel discussion, they would tell us what kind of planning goes into coming up with the gene snip bundles. It doesn't happen overnight, guys. It takes time. It takes a well thought out plan on what makes sense. How is this going to resonate with clients? And then they test the waters, and then they say, okay, that works. Let's launch that. But don't do things half cocked. Give yourself a break. Do due diligence. Because if you don't do due diligence and you come across as launching something that's half-cocked, you're going to waste a lot of time and a lot of energy. I've been there and done that. I have a T-shirt to prove it, and I don't want to do that again. But does your program, your service line, does it have to be perfect? The answer is no. It doesn't have to be perfect. But should you know your niche market? Yes, you should know them like the back of your hand. Should you identify and understand your avatar? Yes, absolutely. And I'll talk about those more in detail here in just a second. And will this program, and will you, through working, rolling out your program, will you be in the constant learning process, a constant modification process as you move forward? The answer is, I hope so, a resounding yes. Because if we're not growing, we're stagnating. If we're stagnating, we're dying. We need to keep moving forward, and we need to keep learning from the challenges that we've overcome and how we can make things better and move forward from that. Why is this? Because the virtual world, literally, as I said a moment ago, may as well be as big as the universe. If you want to grab the attention of a prospective client in an ocean as big as the universe, you had better be niche and avatar focused. I mean, how are you going to serve someone at the highest level if you don't know anything about that someone? When it comes to your niche, knowing these three things, these three questions will literally accelerate your business growth, and it will take you from a horizontal trajectory to a vertical trajectory in your business growth literally almost overnight. So I want you to ask yourself these three specific niche focused questions. Where is my niche market hanging out? Online. And I'm talking all online here because we're talking virtual. What are they searching for in those virtual platforms? And how can I serve them and over deliver at the highest level? Here's a secret tip. If your bundled products and services and your proprietary system are put together in one place, ready, easy to use, I can almost guarantee you that you will have carved out a new sub-niche or a sub-niche within the world of marketing. You know why? Because it's proprietarily yours. It's uniquely you. It's not somebody else's. And if a competitor does come along and try to hack what you've done, they try to figure out, they try to replicate or mimic what you've done, guess what? You're going to be the category king or queen because it's your proprietary idea. You know your niche market better than anybody does, and you will have been the first one out of the chute with that particular idea. And I think the big takeaway here is, and I know this doesn't rhyme because niche is pronounced that way, but there are riches and niches. We've heard that before. And in understanding that, if we can wrap our heads around that, we can serve people at the highest level. And guess what? We're not serving everybody, because if you're serving everybody, you're serving nobody. We have to be very niche focused, very avatar focused, and understand the group of people that we're called to serve at the highest level. And I got to be honest with you guys, here's the litmus test for this. If you were stranded on a deserted island with this group of people that you're working with right now, would they energize you or would they drain you? If they would drain you, they're not in your niche market. You need to modify your niche market. If there's people that would energize you and you say, yep, I could be stranded the rest of my life on a deserted island with them, then guess what? They're your niche market. And that just tells you how small this can be. You don't need an email list of 10,000 people to be independently wealthy as a virtual business owner. It takes a very small list as long as you're hyper-focused on who they are. Now let's talk about avatar very, very quickly, and then we're going to wrap this up. When it comes to your avatar, which resides within your niche, you need to know them. You deserve to know them. See, there's that word again. You deserve to know them like the back of your hand. What sex are they? Are they male or female? What's their name? Give them a name. Write this out on a piece of paper. Look at images of people on Google Images and see if you can find an image of somebody in your mind that you have as that your avatar. What's their name? What color hair do they have? What color eyes do they have? What are their hobbies? What do they do for a living? What do they do for work? Are they retired? Do they have kids? Do they have grandkids? Do they have fur babies? What are their deepest desires? What do they do in their free time? What challenges do they have? How are they addressing these challenges? Where do they hang out online? And who do they turn to in order to get their questions answered related to their challenges? When you think you've got those two things, the avatar and the niche, nailed down, your proprietary system nailed down, the best thing to do is start with a beta group. Now, I say group because it can be one-on-one and you've just chosen to work with 3 people one-on-one, or it can be literally a small group of people that you're working with in a group setting. Start with a beta group. That's a test group. These people understand when they come in, hey, we're in test mode. We're rolling out something really, really brand new that we're excited about. And for that, we're going to lower the price to 1/3 of what it would normally be. And only thing we ask in return is that you give us some feedback of what you liked, what you didn't like, so we can modify it and improve it from that point forward. So a lot of times this last product, this service line that I launched, I literally went through 3 beta groups. And we're actually in official version 1.0, but we had 3 beta groups before we officially launched. And that's so I could get all my ducks in a row, kind of work out logistically the things behind the scenes that clients don't even see. And you have to start thinking in this way because that's what the virtual world is. There's a lot that goes on that clients don't see behind the scenes, but it's totally different than brick and mortar, what they don't see. So do your beta groups. And when you're in your beta group, over deliver what you promised. If you promised this, deliver this much more. Monitor, assess, and adjust, and then readjust and reassess, and then go into your 3rd beta group or your 4th beta group, however many you feel like you need before you're comfortable launching the actual official version 1.0. And then you repeat the process. If you promise this on version 1.0, over deliver up here. Give them more than what you promised them. And then monitor, assess, and adjust, and then launch version 2.0, version 5.0, version 10.0. Most of the gurus and coaches, mentors that I've had for a successful product that they have in their armament, they're sometimes on the 20 or 25th iteration or version of that particular product because they keep making it better and better and better. I've literally followed somebody when they launched a beta product, loved it, and then 6 years later bought version 6.0 or 7.0 because it was that good. It was that much more improved. And they had already developed I'd already developed trust in them and knew that they were who they were. So that's all I've got. Sarah, I'm going to turn it back over to you. This is an important talk because the world is changing around us as we're speaking, and we've got to adapt and adjust.
The world, oh, preach it. That was, I mean, I'm here and I'm like, first I thought I was going to come back and be like, the riches are in the niches. And then you went ahead and you said that. And then, you know, what I can add to this is that we tell people to be so boldly you, because your vibe will attract your tribe. That's
right.
what I always say. And it's the same concept.
Yep.
And this is true now, but it's always been true. I mean, and we can't go back and lament and say, where were we? Because of course the best time to plant a tree was back in 2004 with us at the beginning, but the second best time is today.
Yeah.
And I want everyone here who wants to align yourselves with providers like the ones you've heard today, align yourselves with providers like Dr. Brian Brown, to go back through our proprietary process, because you don't necessarily have to come up with your own. We helped you do it in the practice planning guide, in the HP implementation guide. We're still just scratching the surface with nutraMetrix. And sure, some people know who we are and are implementing and adopting here, like Dr. Brian Brown. I was interacting with a nurse practitioner just yesterday, and she had used TLS before and said, I liked the products. The system was, didn't quite fit with me. And I'm like, oh, girlfriend, you just wait till you see it now, because of what you're talking about, Dr. Brian, that we refined it. We came up with, I loved your, when you were talking about being, you know, a foot specialist, and, you know, putting in the socks and the shoes and the insoles and everything that's unique to you. That's what we did with TLS. That's what we did with GeneSnip. That's what we've done with bundles. So different. I hope everyone Googles you, because I know I love listening to you on your podcast. I love following you on social media. I mean, everyone here, I hope you give some love. I always say the best tip in a tip jar can be, you know, either a review on a podcast, you know, I thank you on social media, something to really help us all and boost. That's what I talk about as well. Yep. Thank you so much, Dr.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Brandy. Thank you, Dee.
Thank you. And I saw someone did a comment and said, all these grandparents are looking so young. That was my favorite comment I saw today.
Hey, it's the nutraMetrix lifestyle. What can we say?
Product of the product.
Product of the product. All right.
Enjoy those grandbabies. Happy early Father's Day and Grandfather's Day to you.
Thank you.
And I want to bring on the next speaker to have the same twist in talking about having a practice in a little bit of a different way. So Dr. Laura Hamilton is a family practitioner, works upstate New York, and had a very, you know, traditional type of practice until she transitioned into concierge medicine. And whether you're looking to go into something a little bit more cash-based, like Dr. Brian Brown talked about, if you're looking to, you know, align yourselves with a model similar to Dr. Hamilton, or whether you just want to start out or you're considering doing more with your nutraMetrix business, we want to have that conversation about creating raving fans to the tune where you're able to say, you know, you deserve this. You deserve this for your health, for your family's health, for your own wellness. And I want to talk about a way that you could incorporate this into your lifestyle, because it is a conversation that some providers haven't had before. So when I bring on Dr. Hamilton, I can see you now, Dr. Hamilton. I was searching for you in my panelists. I found you. You look awesome. When I bring her on, you know, to have this conversation just from her experience, I hope it inspires you. I want you guys to stay on to the end. I think it's okay. We're going to go a couple minutes over, but Brandy Murphy, when she comes on at the end, has a huge announcement of something that we're doing that's really different and new with nutraMetrix. And Dr. Hamilton, when I was reviewing your bio, I didn't realize that you, like my dad, were Army Reserve. So thank you so much for your service and your time with that. I appreciate that. And please take it away with our audience. Thanks for being here.
Great. Thank you so much. I'm telling you, that's a tough act to follow with Dr. Brown, that's really pretty amazing. That was really incredible information, and that was an awesome. That's an awesome talk. I will be definitely Googling him and learning from him. So this has been an amazing discussion today. I've learned so much. Dr. Nancy, incredible. I'm so jealous. I hate living in New York because we can't do gene snip. It's so incredible. We're going to find out. We're going to figure out a way to do that. But Dr. D, Sarah, Brandy, you guys are all amazing. We've heard so much good information today, and it's really amazing what we can share virtually. And so I've been really proud to be a part of all of this, as I have so proud to be a part of the nutraMetrix family for such a long time. So I'll tell you a little bit about my story, and it started a little bit longer ago than where I'll start, and then we'll go back a bit. But about 5 years ago, I was in a traditional medical practice. I had a couple of physician assistants. I was, working in my practice is called New Concept Medical Care, and it was indeed an attempt to be a new concept because I really wanted to bring the patient-centered medical practice to patients. So we did open access scheduling, so you didn't have to call and make an appointment 3 weeks in advance. You could be seen for what you wanted and needed when you wanted and needed to, and we implemented those practices. We did the best we could at the time for with wellness, and but traditional practice just really sort of wears you down, and seeing 20 or 30 patients a day, trying to keep up with insurance and charting and all of those things, I found myself very frustrated, and I really felt like I was letting my patients down. I felt like I wasn't giving my patients what they really needed, what they really deserved. And I knew that what they really needed wasn't the best new treatment for diabetes or hypertension or heart disease. What they really needed was a way to keep them from developing these chronic illnesses. And with traditional medicine, which is how I was trained, I knew that I could keep people alive for longer with medications, but the quality of their life and their ability to do the things that they hoped and dreamed to do was always greatly reduced. So, and I feel like I had failed them because I knew the way to healthy living was just, and the quality of life, not just longevity, was not the latest medical breakthrough to open up clogged arteries or the newest insulin that would act just like your own body's hormone. But I knew that it was more than that. It was health and nutrition, because 10 years ago, my senior business partner and dear friend Corinne Roberts introduced me to TLS. And I learned through TLS about the science of nutrition, and then was introduced to nutraMetrix and science-based supplementation. And it really opened my eyes to a whole new way of looking at patient care. It really changed things for me. And I spent about 5 years trying to fit that knowledge into a traditional practice. And it became really so frustrating for me because it really is about education, and education takes time, and about investing the patient and getting them to buy into taking better care of themselves and what they deserve. And all that takes time, changing behaviors, in talking about self-care, implementing those kinds of changes. And so in the short amount of time that I had with each of my patients, I felt like I was throwing up on them. I was just trying to give them as much information, all the information that I had, because I learned so much and was so excited about it. I was just puking all over them. And you could see it in their face. At some point in the during the visit, their eyes would just glaze over, and you could see the door slam shut, and they were done. They could accept no more information. So it became very frustrating, and it certainly affected my ability to change their lives, to be an effective coach, to do the things that I knew would really help them. So 4 years ago, I chose to transition my practice to a concierge model. And because I had been really desperately trying to introduce the idea of wellness and into a traditional practice, and I realized that it wasn't going to work. So in that process, I was able to partner with a group of physicians who specialize in concierge medicine and help them. And they helped me with my transition. And so concierge medicine, a little bit about from Dr. Brown, but it is really paying for a wellness service or a service that's not generally covered by health insurance, bringing additional services or access to patients other than traditional medicine. So in our practice, in my practice, we implement wellness services. We have preventative services, preventative testing, and then we sit down and evaluate the results of that testing and those services. And we really set goals for patients. And the first time that happened to one of my patients, where we sat down and after we did their complete physical, looked at all their test results, talked about that, we sat down and I said, what do you want to achieve this year? What do you want to do? Where do you want to be a year from now so I can help you get there? So, and they looked at me so inquisitively, like, what are you talking about? Nobody has ever in a medical practice sat down and asked me what I wanted. They're telling me what I should do. I should lose 15 pounds. I should take this blood pressure medicine. I should stop eating salt. But no one ever asks me what's important to me. And that was a real breakthrough for them and for me. And it became, such an important part of what I do now is to really engage the patient, to figure out what they want, what's important to them, what's standing in their way, not just what their cholesterol number is, or what their blood pressure is, or what their BMI is, and what I think is important to their health, to engage them in what they think is important. So we utilize that, and that is our goal setting, and then keeping them engaged and getting them to where they need to go. So we really are not we try to step away from that one pill per symptom approach of traditional medicine, and then educate patients in nutrition, ways to improve their health and minimize the need for pharmaceuticals. I think it's the best mix is being able to use that science-based supplementation, weight management, as well as pharmaceuticals when they're necessary, because sometimes there's just no choice. So when we talk about my topic was talking about the money. Our patients pay for their care, and that's kind of a new concept for them, if you will. So some of them think that everything else should be free. Well, I pay, I pay to be here. It's not just, you just don't take insurance. So how come that's not included in the subscription? So we do have that conversation about money all the time when we're talking about supplementation, when we talk about doing TLS, all of those things. So we can talk a little bit about how I get around that and how I deal with that. So but I think that talking about what's important to them, what's getting in their way, is really the way to start engaging those patients. Most of them come to me with a problem. They think they have some disease or some illness, but most of the time it's really just a symptom of poor health. And the problem is that changing your health is more difficult than taking a pill. So there's lots of people out there who'd rather take a pill for every symptom than stop eating out of a box or out of a window, start drinking more water, drink less soda, whatever it is. They'd much rather take a pill than do something different. So changing behaviors is the hard part, and that's why the concierge model helps, because I have more time to do that. And so when they come to me with a problem and I'm trying to introduce that wellness model, I start with the problem. So whether it's constipation, weight loss, sleep problems, joint pain, fatigue, brain fog, whatever it is, we try to approach the problem from a nutritional standpoint. Most of them have tried lots of things. They've been to other physicians, other specialists. They've tried lots of different modalities, and it really hasn't helped because they're still coming to me with the same problem. So I asked them to try and take a journey with me and take a different approach. And the first thing I ask is to try to figure out how they could deserve to take better care of themselves, to eat a little better, to make better choices, to drink more water, to try to get a little more exercise, to introduce meditation and stress relief, and to try and talk about other nutritional things like science-based supplementation to improve how your body responds to the stresses of every day, and try to alleviate symptoms in that way. So I try not to be too complicated when I'm introducing a new plan, especially for patients who don't take supplements on a regular basis, who aren't supplement takers, who are new to that concept. And I selected a group of supplements usually because we talk about synergy and about how things work in concert. And so it usually requires a few supplements be used together to get the best benefit. And we talk about if we're going to do something, let's try and do the best that we can do to use the most potent group of supplements that are going to give us the best effect. So a few selected supplements, and I want to choose something that I know is going to work. It's important that they have success, because especially if they're not a supplement taker, I need to build belief. I need to get them to succeed so they know that what we're recommending actually makes a difference. And I tell them that they'll have success in a few days or a few weeks, but they're probably going to see the full benefit over the course of time, even several months down the road. And I ask them to make small, manageable changes in their lifestyle, to look at other things like drinking more water, drinking less soda, decreasing caffeine, try to get a little exercise at lunchtime, something that they feel like they can handle right away. And then we try to move on from there. And so when we talk about it being a whole package. So just like in initiating any new plan, we need to do all the things that help. So eating well, trying to get the right amount of sleep, trying to improve your stress management, all those things are going to help those supplements to do their job better, and you're going to have a better effect. I tell them it's like putting high octane fuel in your car, but not changing your oil. If you're not really working with things, then things aren't going to work as well. So we want you to have a good outcome, and I want you to so try to work the best you can with with the program. So I try not to make the regimen very complicated, and I always give out whatever supplements we're using for the first time. I give them the information, I give them the fact sheets, I give them the infographics, so they have something to read when they get home. I put it in a little folder so that they can go back to it. If they don't remember what it is that I've told them, they can go back to it and they can review it. They can certainly call me. They can they can get a hold of me if they have any questions, but they have that there so they can review it. And when they get home, if their daughter or their husband, their wife wants to know what happened, and they say, well, she didn't give me anything, but this bag of stuff. She's like, what do you mean they didn't give you anything? They didn't give you a medicine? You went there to get something for your for your problem. She didn't give you anything? Well, she gave me this. And then at least they have something to read. They know that there's a plan, there's a program in place, that it just isn't the pill that they were thinking that they were going to get. So I want them to feel different. I want them to notice the things. I want them to know that they're going to feel different in a few days or a few weeks. And I often will tell them that it's the kinds of things that they should expect to feel, because they might not be looking for them, and they'll say that things I didn't feel any different, because it's things like having more restful sleep, waking a little more rested, having more focus during the day, having a little more energy, not being hungry all the time, losing a little bit of that abdominal girth, not feeling as bloated or as puffy. So those are the kind of subtle things that we look for and tell us a little bit about success, as opposed to other, things that pharmaceutical changes might be more dramatic. So when you have a urinary tract infection or you have pneumonia and you take an antibiotic, 3 days later you feel much better. So taking supplements don't have the same kind of profound effect. And so you need to guide them into letting them know what it is that they're going to feel, so they can be looking for them. So I want to set them up for success. So I have my supplements all displayed in my exam room. I don't put them in the waiting room because nobody spends any time in my waiting room anyway, so you wouldn't have time to look at them or have a discussion about them. And we're in my exam room so that it's very private, very quiet, just between the two of us, and we can have a discussion, and they can ask whatever questions they want and not feel pressured or feel like it's public, like they don't want to ask a stupid question. And I have them nicely displayed. I want people to know when they walk into my office that this is what I do. I'm very proud of this line of supplements, and so they're displayed well, and I want to show them off. I speak about the quality of supplementation in the market, other supplements, lack of regulation, binders, fillers, things that decrease the effectiveness of supplementation. There's no data on absorption, no science behind those supplements out there. I can't know about that. And I try to talk about that to the patient before they bring up the topic of how much they cost. We use a combination, as I said before, of those 2 to 3 supplements because things work in concert and they are synergistic, and you're going to get better benefit. So all the things that Dr. Deidre just talked about. And then I tell them my story. I am indeed a product of the product. Most of the supplements that they will be taking, I have taken or am currently taking. So I can tell them what they taste like, when to take them, how quickly they work for me, what kind of changes, benefits I see, why after 10 years I continue to take them. And I think that gives credibility. I certainly can quote the science to them if they really want to hear it, and maybe they do, and I've got plenty of that. But I think most of the time they want to know why they're going to take it, what to expect, and if they know that I take it now and still have been taking it for 10 years, I think it gives them confidence. So we talk about why I chose the brand nutraMetrix. We talk about the synergy, the blending of products that make sense together, the compounds, the purity, and the isotonic delivery system, which always has been just chemically fascinating to me. And then I ask them to invest in themselves. And I tell them that I am in it with them and for them. I'm 100% invested in them succeeding. And if they will take the journey with me, then we will surely succeed. And so it takes, I can tell them what to do. I can make recommendations. I can educate them, but I can't do it for them, but I will surely do it with them. So most of the things that they've tried, they've spent lots of money. That's money wasted. It hasn't worked. So I asked them to commit to a trial, to try things for a month, see if it doesn't make a difference, see if we can't solve a problem that they have been struggling with for a long time. So, I ask them to take a different approach. We talk about changing their habits. If they're talking about money and they think it's too costly, well, we talk about changing their spending habits. If they're going to be eating better, maybe they're not making, they don't have to buy that $5, 1,200 calorie large caramel macchiato iced coffee every morning, so they can use that money to support a much better habit. And if you can get them to commit and you can get them to succeed, then they believe, then you have them. They believe in themselves. They see that for the first time they have the ability to control their health. And then there's no stopping them. You just have to keep them engaged, keep their eye on the goal, and you want to watch them change their own lives. I feel like, we're changing lives, but really what we do is empower people to change their own lives. We give them the tools, but we can't do it for them, but we can certainly do it with them. So, we have our discussions about money and about investment is really an investment in themselves. They invested in a wellness practice because they believed in the concept of wellness. And so this is part of that investment, and it's a good investment. So that's it for me.
Awesome.
Gone over, and I hope you guys enjoyed. This was such a great experience for me today.
Oh, thank you so much, Dr. Hamilton. And I loved everything that you were just saying. In fact, I just wrote down all of these notes at the end of what you were saying about what you do with your patients and what you say to them about how you're 100% vested in them. And if they'll just go on the journey with you, you know that they will succeed. I want to be able to say those things to everybody on this call, because nutraMetrix does the same thing, not only for our practitioners doing it for their patients, but that's how we feel about our nutraMetrix consultants and our health professionals, that we are here for your success. We are here for you, whether you're an NC or whether you're an HP. We want to be able to provide all the tools to you and the training materials for you to be able to go on this journey with us to change healthcare together. Thank you so much, Dr. Hamilton. I do have a few other announcements, so I know we're going a little bit over for the attendees here, but if you can just please hang out with me for a few more minutes, we are definitely going to show you some things that I hope you will be super excited about. I'm going to pull up my slides here for a second. And I have some really exciting announcements for you. Before we get into the actual announcements, though, I just want to talk to you about clearing up some confusion. We have quite a few people that have recently joined our nutraMetrix family. From maybe March until now, we've had hundreds of people attend our nutraMetrix 101s and 201 sessions. We have a lot of nutraMetrix consultants that were due for recertification, and we've been noticing some questions showing up in the Facebook group and coming in via email. And I just wanted to take a few minutes before I get into our exciting announcements to clear up some confusion. The types of questions we're getting are really related to the fact that we were supposed to be together in person this weekend. We were supposed to be in Herndon, Virginia at a live event. And because of everything that's going on in the world, we couldn't get together. I don't know about you guys. I think it worked out beautifully to be able to be together online. We may actually have more people that were able to join us today live than if they would have had to travel to Virginia. But we were supposed to have a live event in Virginia that would have given people recertification training and certification status as nutraMetrix consultants. So what happens now that we can't have those live events? Of course, we have moved many of our platforms to online, and we're doing more and more nutraMetrix 101s and 201s than ever before. Dr. Nancy Miller-Ely did one yesterday with 200 people on it. We've had them going on just about twice a month since March. And so we have a lot of new people. And let's just talk about what we've done, because typically when you go to a nutraMetrix consultant training, you get a 2-year certification status. And that means you have to come back to the training at least once every 2 years. And if you don't, you lose your status. Well, because we've not been able to have a live event, we went ahead and automatically gifted all of our existing nutraMetrix consultants that were due for recertification an extra 6 months of status to take them to our next live event, which is going to be in October 2020 in Brea, California. So if you were a nutraMetrix consultant that hasn't been able to attend an event because there haven't been any, but you were due for recertification, you should have already received an email from nutraMetrix saying that your status was extended. Or you could just log into the back office and check to see if you can order the nutraMetrix products, and you should see your status has been extended already to the October event. For those of you that attend 101 and 201 sessions, typically, once you attend a 101, 201, what happens is when you are ready to turn on your 3-month temporary status for being a nutraMetrix consultant, you have to email the company and say, I'm ready for my status to be turned on. But again, because we don't have any live events for you to plug into right now until October, we wanted to just go ahead and make it so you don't have to email us, you don't have to request status. We've automatically given everybody who's attended a 101 and 201 nutraMetrix consultant status that will last until March of 2021. Now, why did I pick those particular months? Well, that's when we do have live events coming up. We have in October, the weekend of 24th and 25th, October in Brea, California. This is on the books right now. We are selling tickets to this event on marketamericaevents.com. You can also find the registration forms and flyers like I'm showing you here in the downloads area of unfranchise.com if you're a nutraMetrix consultant or health professional. But we have simultaneously going on that weekend a nutraMetrix consultant training and a health professional product and implementation course. Our plan is to have that event live and in person. Of course, we don't know if we're going to be able to do that yet. We will adjust if we need to, but we are moving forward as if we are having that event live and in person. And hopefully, everybody keep your fingers crossed, we can get together and actually see each other in person and give hugs. The next event after that is also already on the books, is a nutraMetrix convention and training weekend. If you liked the format of today, typically what we do in our convention weekend is the first days, Friday and Saturday, we have an NC training going on and a simultaneous HP and product and implementation training going on. And then the third day, which is Sunday, is a format just like this, where we feature many of our health professionals and they get to share their experiences live and in person. So we have this scheduled in Herndon, Virginia, same hotel where we were supposed to be right now. And that is March 12th to the 14th of 2021. So if you already had NC status and you were due for certification, we've extended you to the October training. If you've attended a 101, 201 training, we've extended you to Herndon. If you're an NC and you want status through March, then all you have to do is go to a 101, 201 to update your status, and that will also extend you to the March weekend, right? So pretty much everybody has the opportunity to extend their status to March, even without attending a live event until May. So hopefully that's helpful for you. We hear your concerns. We know you need the certification, and we wanted to be able to provide that for you. Now, let's talk about one of the new, I have two really exciting announcements for you, and I want to talk about the first one now. So let's ask you I want to ask you a few questions, because this is one of the other things that people get confused about. They say, okay, I'm a nutraMetrix consultant now, and I'm about to go out and start marketing my business. You heard many times throughout the day today how important it is to market yourself using your website. Angel Shannon talked about how your website should be able to be your one source of information where people can get in touch with you right away. But the question becomes, if I'm a nutraMetrix consultant, what website do I share? I don't have a nutraMetrix.com website. Do I just send them to nutraMetrix.com? But what if they want to buy something and then they get put in the batting lineup? Do I send them to my TLS website? Do I send them to my shop website? Do I have to build my own website? What do I do? And we're very proud to share with you that we've been working very closely with Jason Pelland from the Web Center program. So I know there were some comments about how closely Web Centers and nutraMetrix tie together, but we've developed a website for you that will help you market your nutraMetrix business as an NC. Now, it is still in development, but I'm going to show you some screen captures of what it looks like right now. You'll notice on the slides, this is a responsive website, meaning if you're going to look at it on a computer, it looks like this. If you're going to look on it on a tablet, it looks like that middle picture. If you're going to look like, if you're going to share it on a cell phone or an iPhone, it's going to look like what you see on the right. What I'm going to share with you quickly in these screen shares is I'm going right across the menu bar. So what you're seeing right here is the home screen. When you click on the home screen, you're going to see the quick video that we have talking about how practitioners can add ancillary income to their business. It's going to talk about the wellness evolution. It's going to talk about results. It's going to talk about our clinically trademarked ingredients. And then as we click on why nutraMetrix, it's going to explain the benefits of nutraMetrix and what we offer to practitioners, and also a little bit of information about you. When we click on the products tab, it's going to have information about our products and the different regimens that we have and featured ingredients. When we click on the science, there's some drop downs where you can talk or share with them information about regulatory practices and quality control and references and frequently asked questions. And I love that Sarah's like, but wait, there's more, because there is so much more. The next screen where it talks about you. This is where you get to add in your special sauce. You get to share pictures of you. You get to talk about what makes your business unique. We always talk at the NC training about how people buy you first, right? When you're going out, they need to figure out whether they want to do business with you, not just with nutraMetrix. So you get to talk to the about me portion and tell your specific story. But one of my favorite parts about this is on the next page, the contact us page. It explains the discovery meeting process, and like Angel Shannon said, they should be able to contact you right away. They can book a discovery meeting and pre-fill out some of the discovery meeting questionnaires right on this page. I mean, how excited are you guys about this? It's so exciting to me. It is something that we definitely need to thank Jason Pelland for. So when you see Jason, say thank you to Jason Pelland. He worked with the Explore MA people for this. This is going to be one of our distributor marketing sites. So you're going to be able to purchase this just like you do now through Explore MA. It is not ready yet. It is under construction, but what I'm showing you is live. Like those parts of it are live. They're just not ready for purchase yet. So we're super excited about that. Are you guys excited about that? Let me see in the comments. And for those of you that are watching us on Facebook, I want to know if you're excited about that. Let me see, some love for Jason in the comments too, because I think this is going to be a great addition to all of our businesses. But guys, we're just getting started with the announcements. Wait until you see what's coming next, okay? Because let's clear up some more confusion. What are the other things that we get asked about a lot? It is somebody comes to a 101, 201 training, or they come to a nutraMetrix consultant training and they say, there's so much information. I love it. I can't wait to dive in. I want to learn more, but where do I go? And when we say, where do we go? We have tools on unfranchise.com. We have YouTube channels, right? We have the YouTube channel for patients. We have the YouTube channel for nutraMetrix consultants. We have all of these different videos, but how do you know if you've missed one? And how do you track your progress? Well, guys, I hope you're ready for this. I'm going to ask you, are you ready? Because if you've been paying attention over the last few months, you've noticed, and I forget, I think it was Marianne that said she's plugged into something like 75 trainings over the last few months on Zoom. Well, what we've been working on behind the scenes, and Sarah Tegender, I have to give you credit for this because she's coordinated this project. We all worked together on the curriculum, but she was the boots on the ground that actually put it all together into the system. Are you ready? We have enrolled all of you into the nutraMetrix online learning management system. In fact, it is live right now. So I saw a couple of questions flying up on the screen when I was talking about the Jason Pelland Web Center type program. That is coming, give us about a month. Our goal is July for you to be able to purchase that. This one is live right now, and I'm gonna show you some screen captures of it. When you log in, you're going to see, welcome to the learning management system. And I want you to pay attention to this menu bar because we're going to go through it on the screen captures. If I were to scroll down, this is just a screen capture, so I can't. There's a video welcoming you, and there's a welcome message from myself and Sarah and Dr. Mason. But as we go through the modules, here's what I want to show you. We've broken it down into 11 modules, and each module has a variety of videos associated with it. So, for example, if we look at the first module, Why nutraMetrix, we have 5 or 6 different videos there for you. Each one of these videos gets a little check mark when you watch it. And if you notice across the bottom of the screen, there's a progress bar. So as you watch a video, it's going to turn blue. Prior to you watching it, it's white. So you can check to make sure that you've seen all of the videos and all of the trainings that we have. You can also favorite videos. So if there's a specific video you want to come back to more frequently, you can do that. In addition to all of the videos that we have access to, I do want to point out there are 2 levels of access here. The first level is what we call our basic access. For those of you that have attended a 101 or 201 set or 101 and 201 session, you get the basic level. For those of you that have attended a full NC training, you get the advanced level. What you'll notice is there are some, like this one, that look locked. In this particular case, it says Children's Health is locked. When I click on it, it says this is advanced access only. You just need to purchase your ticket to get to access to that event. Once you attend the full NC training, you'll get access to the advanced curriculum. Now, what I want to share with you is there are a few videos right now because when we built out this curriculum, it was part of our Zoom calendar to build out through the end of June. There are a few of these videos that haven't been recorded yet. So even if you have advanced access, if you're already an NC and you should have advanced access, there's going to be a few of those locked videos that you see. That's why. It's that we're still recording them and uploading them. But this 90% of the content is up there. It's ready for you right now. A couple of other things to look at under the resources section. We have an unfranchised support materials area, a video resources area that links you off to the 2 different YouTube channels. We have a social media resources area. When you look at downloadable resources, this is so powerful for the people that have been to a 101, 201, because in the past, what you got was an email with a link to Dropbox. And if you lost that link, you didn't know how to access it. What we've done here is we've gone in and all of the supporting materials that go along with coming from a 101, 201, like getting the NC practice planning guide, the getting started guide, the HP implementation guide. When you click on these links, it takes you right to the download area where you can download them from unfranchised.com. Even if you don't have access to them within the unfranchised area, on this page, you'll be able to download them. Make sure that this helps us make sure that we can update it in one place and everybody gets access to the most recent version, which is super, super excited for all of us. Then you have some bonus content here, right? So what's in the bonus content? And it's going to depend whether you have basic access or you have advanced access. For those of you that have been to a full NC training, you have advanced access, you get access to the recording that I did of a nutraMetrix 101 and 201 in April. So that's 6 hours of content right there. Everybody, including the basic access, gets access to a general product training that I did in April where I really focused on helping the unfranchised owner understand GeneSNP bundles and how to duplicate GeneSNP bundles for their patients. So again, guys, there's over 40 hours of content built into this website right now. Actually, I think it was like 46 hours of content built in. We also threw in, Sarah had an incredible accountability group that she did a couple of years ago with an audio sequence. So there's an incredible amount of content, over 4 hours of content in the audio sequence there. Guys, check your email. You should have already received at 1:50 today, the email went out that had your link to access the website today. It is live and you should have your email access. Now let's talk about it, because I know some of you right now are like, well, I didn't get the email, or some of you might not be an NC yet. We know we have guests on with us today. This website is only available to our NCs that have either attended a 101, 201 session, or an NC group. If you have done one of those things, you've either gone to a 101, 201, or you are a full NC, then, and you don't find the email, write this down, bit.ly/nutraMetrix LMS. LMS stands for Learning Management System. That's what this thing is called, nutraMetrix LMS. You go to bit.ly.nutraMetrix LMS. You will see the registration page. Now, you should already have an email that will take you there, but in case you can't find the email, this is how you can get there. But I'm going to ask for some patience, right? Because I know I'm dangling a treat in front of you. I know I've given you a little bit of a carrot that you want to get access to. And some of you might have some technical difficulties. So I put on here, I can't get in. Now what? First thing, please be patient. We're launching this today. Our staff is not in the office today to answer any support-related questions. So the first types of questions that come up are, where did the email go? I didn't get it. Be sure to check your spam and junk folder. Whitelist or safe sender list, or add to your contacts, or whatever it's called, the nutraMetrix at nutrametrix.com email address, and notifications at kartra.com email address. The notifications for the LMS come from a company called Kartra. Okay, make sure you use the email address associated with your Market America or nutraMetrix account. The system automatically checks to see if you have status with us. That's based on your email address. So if you have 5 different email addresses, or like me, I have like 12 different email addresses, you have to make sure you register with the email address tied to your nutraMetrix account. Once you register, then you will get access to the website and you can dig in. Now, what I want to share with you also is if you don't have access to that email, then we have to manually go through the process, and it might take a few days for us to get to everybody. So please, please, please be patient. Once you get into the site, you can skip around. You can go in the order that we recommended for you. There's a couple of things that I want to share with you. For example, Module 11 is product and health related talks. You don't have to wait till you get through the other 10 modules to do that. We recommend you go through health talks once a week at least. In NC training, we teach you about the idea of the product of the week. So at least pick out one product related video a week to watch, okay? With that, just want to tie up a couple of loose ends, share with you some upcoming events. If you like the event today and you want to be able to continue your learning, we still have a lot of live Zooms going on. We have 4 live Zooms this week. And in the nutraMetrix Facebook group, there is this link that's up at the top, bit.ly/nutraMetrix online events 2 with a capital M. It is case sensitive, so you might want to put that down as well. That's where our upcoming Zoom spreadsheet is, with the links to register for all of these events. So we have one on Tuesday on mental and cognitive health. We have one on Wednesday on heart health. We have one on Thursday on digestive health. We have one on Friday with an interview with a health professional. So that you have more access to training than you could possibly handle, but we want to make sure that everybody is plugged into that. We also have, and Dr. Nancy Miller-Ely talked about this in her segment, on Sunday of this coming weekend, we have a nutraMetrix Gene SNP workshop. The information for registering is there. This is also in that spreadsheet that I shared with you. I hope you guys are as excited about this as I am. Somebody asked the question, are the online Zoom events nutraMetrix only? No, anybody can attend the nutraMetrix Zooms. Guests are welcome. Health professionals are welcome. Everybody is welcome to attend. Again, I just want to take a few minutes and say to all of the speakers and presenters today, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I had goosebumps through so many of the presentations. We had so many golden nuggets shared with us. For all of you that took time out of your weekend to share with us, we had over 600 people watching with us today, whether it be on Zoom or on Facebook. I think we had a great turnout, and I hope that you guys enjoyed the event as much as we did putting it on for you. But we're going to go ahead and end the broadcast for now. Thank you guys for everything. If you have questions about the LMS, ask them in the Facebook group. We're so thankful to everybody for being with us. We hope you have a great rest of your weekend. Bye, everyone.